Welcome to Chronic Curiosity, where we have real conversations with real people, from everything to anything, in attempts to facilitate dialogue with our fellow humans, and hopefully your curiosity as well as ours. If you can withstand the show, we ask, most importantly, that you tell your friends and family, but also you can pick up some merch or just donate to the show at chronic-curiosity.com in USD or Bitcoin. If you feel so obliged, you can give us a good rating and follow on whatever podcast platform you so choose. But please feel free to reach out to us on the website or the socials, which can also be found on the website, chronic-curiosity.com. And here we go.
Your guys' interactions, and dude, they're always like good, man. And I'm like, I wonder if he knows him like personally, or if it's just an internet
They're both
thing.
just antagonistic.
Yeah, I think, there is a little, it's like turned into a sport almost these days. It's like, I feel like we're out here just like sport fishing on Facebook and just having a good time. Like some of it could be constructive. Some of it's just like, oh, I'm having a good time getting myself a rise right now. Right. And a lot of times I try to keep it away from that. And I know it gets a little bad at that point, but me and Thad, it's fun to go back and forth. At the end of the day, we'll meet up and have a beer and stuff, and no hard feelings. So
we're trying to get him on the show sometime, and I'm like, that would be pretty fun to have both you guys.
You should just had us
time.
both, yeah.
He seems to be a little gun shy. Are we? Everything's good. So we're just running.
Sure.
Yeah, Joe, I appreciate you coming.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. Thanks. Beautiful house, beautiful place. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Speaking of, that's kind of started the whole thing.
Yeah.
Was I don't see a whole lot of people doing what you do on social media. Obviously, I know we've known each other for a long time, but
sure.
Not really connected. But I just got back on Facebook basically because of this. Because I was like, all right, like I was off of it for a handful of years, quite a few years, and then it was like, all right, like I guess if I'm gonna do this thing, like I should probably like go and like I'd go on Twitter and like all that junk. And then it was, you caught my eye because it was like you often try to have constructive conversations, as impossible as that may be,
sure,
on that kind of platform.
Yeah.
And that really impressed me. And I was like, oh, someone else like doesn't just want to like post 1,000 dog pictures. This is interesting.
Yeah.
What's wrong with dog pictures?
Nothing. No, I didn't say anything was wrong with it, but that's just not something I am personally interested in.
Well, this is me saying
the market's saturated.
Joking.
The market's saturated with dog pictures.
You see,
let's be honest.
Exactly. Supply and demand, Tony. The supply is way higher than the demand.
We all know Tony's more into the thirst trap pictures. It's fine.
The flex pictures. Yeah, so I commend you for that, and it was something that stood out to me very clearly that there's not a whole lot of people doing that.
Yeah, and it's not just to intentionally go out there and make waves across Facebook and all of my 1,000-some friends and try to piss them off and stuff, but it is good to have, critical conversations that we can kind of hopefully find some common ground on. Just be more logical about things and like, hey, does this make sense? Let's think about it. Because we seem like we are in this era that we can't talk about things anymore. Things have almost turned into this religion. Like, no, trust the science. You can't question the science. You have to trust it. And that's the part where I'm like, hey, wait a minute. I don't even think science would appreciate that. I think science would appreciate if we're a little bit more skeptical when we're doing this. So, yeah. And with everything going on the last 3 years, I think there's no shortage of debate with anything. It's like every new week there's something else that pops up. You're like, oh, a new subject to fight about. Let's let's talk about it.
At each other
yeah, and that sucks that we're to that point, but I think hopefully it kind of comes back the other way and we start finding some more common ground with everything.
Yeah, well, I think that constructive conversation is how you do it, right? So
you hope so. Yeah.
And whiskey or vodka never hurts either. Would you
100%?
Would you like something?
I would like some. Looks like you got Buffalo Trace.
You want to go with
here.
that one?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's.
If you're gonna start, you probably better start with the lowest proof first.
Yeah, there's probably some heavy hitters.
Yeah. Okay.
If you do a high proof, then everything after that is just.
Yeah.
You don't get any flavor from it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Do you want some ice with yours?
Sure.
Yeah.
So the Buffalo Trace, would that be the lower proof then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this one's
90.
Yeah, 90, and then I don't know what all you have, Tone, but most of it's can be pretty stout. This one's a 120 if you just want to start off with this.
Whitney?
You don't have to have a lot. Well, that's why you mentioned before we started talking about like seeing all the bottles in some of our episodes. Like someone's like, well, I see you guys, you hit it pretty hard. I'm like, well, there's a difference between having a lot of drinks and having a lot of drink. Like you can have a lot of small amounts to taste it, but
the variety is the spice of life.
Right. But you don't necessarily have to take half a bottle to the face just because you have 18 in front of you.
We got options. You're like connoisseurs of it. You know, it's nice to have a good spread and be in the mood for something different. So,
can you go grab a pair of tongs for him? Yeah. So that's the whole point that we've talked about before. It's like it's fun. It's to be able to dissect something.
Yeah.
And be able to pick things out and try to, have fun with it.
Absolutely.
That's the idea.
I think these are in ascending order, by the way.
So what would your guys' favorite be out of the bunch here? Is there like a one that you'd go to more over the other?
Yeah. So for me, I'm a huge fan of the Woodinvilles. Like I have that's my favorite just brand in general. Here you can, throw your glass. You just want one cube? Two?
Yeah, one's good.
Just one?
Yeah.
I don't want to touch my dirty ass fingers all over that. That's gross. Yeah, that's just the brand that I think whatever they do, I like it. It has the nice flavor profile that I enjoy, and that's kind of my go-to. But I enjoy a lot of other ones. But I don't know, Tony. He won't say he has a favorite.
All the bourbons.
Mm-hmm.
No, I do like Russell's. It's tasty, and this one is a store pick, and it's particularly tasty. The Willets are good, not the pot still. That's not so good, but the Family Estate's solid. And Knob Creek puts out something good, especially this one. Was that the 12-year?
12.
Yeah, that's a 12-year.
So no Pappy Van Winkle or anything like that going on.
The Pappy's
a little harder to get.
So it's you can get it. It's just you're paying secondary for it unless you win that lottery. So I mean, I've gotten plenty of bottles for plenty of guys. It's just I want to say like the cheapest one now. You're probably close to $1,000 to $1,200 a bottle for the one that's not even it's like a 10-year. It's not even a true Pappy. So
and if you could buy it somewhere where you could actually buy it, like how much would it cost you?
Like MSRP?
Yeah.
I honestly haven't been following bourbons as much, but probably $60 for that one.
Right. So
that's why
it's just another one of those games, right? Depending on where you live and the laws and everything.
That's why guys wait in line at the liquor store.
Well, you could even if you wait in line for 4 hours for something like that. I mean, you probably have to wait in line longer than that. But if you wait in line for 4 hours, you make $800 or $1,000 basically.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty good. It's pretty good profit per hour, right? Pitch a tent and get some Pappy.
Yeah. Who? No. Context.
If you've been listening, there was context there, right?
Yeah, not to do any like shameless promoting, but Meatheads always does a bourbon tasting. And they do Willet. They'll do Pappy sometimes if they can get it. I think their third one that they did, they had like 2 Pappies. Now I don't know what year. It might have been 10 years or something, but it was super expensive stuff. So it's super hard to get, and that's I think why the price is so high. And if you guys never went to one, I think it'd be good for you since you're a connoisseur of it. And
is that Mitch putting that on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they usually do a blind bourbon tasting, so typically no one knows what's in the tasting yet. And then there's like 6 shots they give you, and then like an ending one they give you that's really special, and that was the Pappy I think last year.
Cool.
So I believe they're going to put that on in the fall. But it's typically pretty cool. They usually have about 35 people, and then Adam goes back there and makes like charcuterie boards and all kinds of stuff that so check that out.
Dude, go ahead.
How are you tied in with Meatheads?
I just like wearing the shirt.
Yeah.
I didn't want to like actually wear it and be like, oh, let's talk about Meatheads all night. But no, they're a great company. They really are. And it's a small business, and I support like most small businesses downtown. So I've been doing marketing now for over 10 years and working with a lot of small businesses downtown, creating crawls, creating a lot of different small parties downtown, and DJing at the same time. So it's a great journey, but I don't think marketing is my last stop. on this journey. I like the sales side as well, and I like other ventures. So, but now that I'm really versed at marketing, it's a nice tool in the tool bag. So,
For sure. I saw you were doing something with Worcesterfest. Right?
Yeah. So I've been on the committee now for 4 years. This will be my 5th year doing Worcesterfest. On the committee. Yeah. So been doing that for a while. So Worcesterfest is a lot of fun. It's a lot of work to put on, but it's a great group of people that run it, and the chamber's awesome people. So I'm happy to do something for the community and run around for a whole 4 days, essentially setting everything up, striking the gig, and then tearing everything down. And then this year, there's a lot of like back and forth with basically the bands and trying to get music the whole time instead of like a lag between like an hour where it takes people to set up. So this year I'm that hour, basically Friday 5 to 6, and then 8 to 9 I'll be DJing, and then Saturday I'll be DJing 5 to 7, and then I'll DJ the Stein race that Whitney's running in, and a lot of people are running in. So it's a lot of fun. So I'm excited
What's
for it.
the date for that again?
Yeah, that's the end of this month. So the 30th and the 1st, unless we have a 31st in this month. So yeah, right at the end of this month is Worcesterfest.
Bro,
So,
you rocking the
big deal.
lederhosen?
I thought about this year just because I'm DJing, and I think it would be
You
cool
might
to
as
wear
well.
something like that.
Yeah.
So I need to get on Amazon quick and see what I can find, or make something myself. So
Lederhosen with like a helmet. One of those DJs always wear the helmets, right? So you
Yeah.
know who they are.
yeah, you got like you got Marshmallow or Dead Mouse or
Yeah.
people like that. Yeah,
I always like call him Dead Mouth 5.
yeah,
Because
that's how it looks like.
It's, honestly, I think that's a lot cooler of a name. Dead
Yeah.
Mouse. What? Come on, bro. You can come up with something better than that. Dead Mouth 5. Like, what? And you see it written out. You're like, oh, okay.
That is pretty spicy. I mean, I don't drink bourbon, so just
Yeah.
the first sip, I'm like, all right, yeah, that's kind of hot.
Yeah.
So,
Let that cube melt down a little bit
Yeah.
and judge it on your 4th sip.
okay,
See what you think.
sure,
Yeah, the first one, it can always be a doozy.
yeah. But I'm into it. I think it's tasty. I'm excited to try another one and kind of give it a little comparison. So I've always heard good things about the Knob Creek.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law, that's kind of his go-to these days.
Okay.
It was originally Bullet just because it was cheap and you can go get it. But now Knob Creek's kind of his thing. So yeah, I think I'll eventually step up and get there. I've just never been like a big cigar guy either.
Yeah,
I'm not
me
wanting to
either.
hurt anybody's feelings if you like cigars, but I've tried it so many times with my brother-in-laws and sitting in the hot tub, drinking bourbon, smoking a cigar, and just being like, I don't want this cigar. I want to put the cigar out. I'll drink the bourbon and sit in the hot tub with you and bullshit,
Yeah.
but I could take it or leave it on the cigars. I like how they smell before you light them up, but I just don't like how they taste. And the next day, you're kind of,
That's what gets me.
I feel like an ashtray in your mouth.
Cat
You kind of
shit
got a
in your
headache.
mouth for the next 2 days.
Yeah.
Because if it's a good cigar, like I like smoking a good cigar.
Yeah.
But the next day, it doesn't matter how good that cigar is. The next
Yeah.
day, it always tastes like shit, and it's like, this just isn't
I was
worth
gonna
it.
say, I have some anniversary Padrones upstairs. If you guys want to try and change your minds on
I
good
still,
cigars,
I still have the one from Max that I do really want to try it.
dude. If
So
you're
I'm
not
excited.
going to smoke that, hand
No,
over.
I'm definitely going
Okay.
to, but it has to be like I have to be prepared
the-
for it and have to be ready to enjoy it. Like maybe a fire outside.
Yeah,
just sit there for an
yeah.
hour.
The
So.
Tatawahe, that thing's
Yeah.
delicious.
Yeah, no, that's my plan, but I just can't. That next day, it's
Mhm.
just too much for me to get into it
Yeah.
consistently.
And you might feel a little irritable because you are still taking a level of nicotine in and that addiction level. So the next day you could be like, why am I feeling a little cranky? I feel like I need some nicotine or something. Like, I don't know if you
I
ever
never
smoke
thought about
cigarettes.
that.
Yeah. So I imagine if you sit there and like smoke cigars consistently and then stop, it's probably like, man, I kind of need one. You probably have that feeling of like, I'm a little bit addicted to it now. So
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't surprise me.
you don't inhale, but you're still getting a level of
Oh, you're for
nicotine
sure.
going through your blood vessels and your tongue and
Yeah,
your
I know.
mouth.
If you inhale a full cigar,
You're feeling
Good luck.
Man, you've been at it for a long time.
Feeling
That's
rough the
hard.
next day for sure.
Yeah, that's way too much in there.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I never thought about that. I wonder how many people get addicted. That number can't be very high. Get addicted to like nicotine and tobacco through cigars. That can't be an extreme number.
It's usually the other way around. I remember when my brother was quitting smoking, he would go smoke cigars. And then he's like, oh, I just, just puff on it. I'm like, you inhaling? Well, a little bit here and there. Yeah. It was kind of his crutch. And then he was like addicted to smoking cigars at that point. And then, he quit the cigars and, better off at least. So I don't know if either of you ever smoked cigarettes back in the day. I remember doing it from like 18 to 21 a little bit.
Yeah.
And like,
if you didn't smoke cigarettes in the night before the 2010
Yeah.
era,
they were doctor approved in the
Yeah.
60s, right?
Right.
What's your favorite doctor approved cigarette?
basically a health stick.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what I like to call
Smoke them in, airports and medical places, hospitals. That's crazy.
Yeah, I used to, but I never like nicotine and tobacco never like gave me much of a addiction. Like I never felt that, which is weird because I have a super addictive personality to an extent until I get like I said, I've said it before, like I'm an 80%er.
Yeah.
And just about everything I do. As soon as I get to 80%, it's like, this is good enough. and same with hobbies and passions, but nicotine and tobacco never really got that like addictiveness from it whatsoever.
Yeah. I've done a little homework. I think the correct phrase was 3/4 ass. So 3/4 ass was what you said in the one of the podcasts. So,
oh, was it?
Yeah. Then you're like, what's that look like if we Google that? Is there a thing called 3/4 ass?
You probably don't want to Google that. That's something you don't.
Depends on whose ass.
Yeah. Make sure the safe search is on for that one.
100%.
Right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yep. Tell your wife you're going to Google it first. That way she doesn't like walk up behind you like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It just came up.
Yeah, I don't know. 3/4. She's going to do it. Oh.
Duck, go at first.
Yeah, let's. Ooh. Well, I don't know. It might.
Safer search. At least it's like on a proxy or something,
I don't know. I saw that they were starting to
filter direct.
It was like I think the rankings and stuff they were starting to mess with.
No.
Okay.
It was really a sad day.
Yeah.
Because I've used DuckDuckGo for a long time because it's like I don't know, like I don't do a whole lot to the government that I really care if the government or Google or whoever. I'm not too concerned about it. Like it's not
right.
I'm concerned about the overall issue for sure, but I'm like most people where it's like, I mean, I don't really do a whole lot at this point. But until you consider me an extremist in something, that makes me a little nervous. But I did DuckDuckGo for a long time because it just made me feel a little better because it was like, oh, they don't track me. But then I just noticed that they started they're ranking, I think, some of their searches now. Like I don't know exactly how they're doing it, but I saw it and it was like, oh, that makes me sad.
Ranking or filtering or
something. Like how when you search something, instead of just giving you the best match for what you get, it's let's put some more trusted sources up on top. And it's like, I have a hard time with that.
Well, I think they're right there in Silicon Valley with everybody else.
Probably.
They're all in the same game a little bit. And I think that was
they're cutting people's heads off.
Whoa. No, I didn't hear about this.
In fact, check that story. I think it just happened today or yesterday.
Run it back. So Silicon Valley is
on the street. In Silicon Valley, somebody just got their head cut off in broad daylight.
So I was going to talk about a lot of stuff here today, guys, but we're just going to put that away.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Just kidding. No.
But sorry. Yeah. So they were.
No, I just don't want my head cut off. That's
No, that wouldn't be good. No. I like my head. I like to be attached. To my head.
Yeah.
That's usually the best.
At all times.
At all.
Yeah.
At least most of the 60% of the time.
Most of the day.
All of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird that you see these areas that they kind of just go with I don't know if they go with the flow or if they think they're going to make more money. I sometimes I question people's like, what do you, especially companies.
Yeah.
Because I'm very familiar with corporate America and it's like, are you really doing this because of why you're saying you're doing this? Or is it just, are you trying to virtue signal or, yeah, this is Breitbart, but I mean, they don't usually lie. They're right leaning, but.
Do you think he had to behead a certain amount of people before they'd arrest him?
A woman was beheaded by a sword wielding assailant on a residential street in Silicon Valley, the town of San Carlos, California on Thursday in front of horrified onlookers. Well, no shit. The man was later arrested with police receiving counseling. Huh.
Okay.
Do you think he yelled, "There can only be one Highlander"?
That was a great show.
Too dark?
Too dark.
Oh, man.
That's kind of fucked up.
Well, do you know the Olsen twins, right? There was a picture just taken of one of the Olsen twins with a machete and just like kind of strolling down a bike path. And it's on the internet too.
What?
Yeah. I'm like, what's going on there? Why does she have a machete in her hand?
That's awesome.
So, I mean,
I don't like to-
millennials have been through a lot. So I think,
Headed
really-
maybe that's
back to Heath
justified.
Ledger's.
Dude, I will say that, but honestly, I think, was it Gen Z that comes after us? Well, who comes after them? Because there's like 2 more generations now, right?
Yeah.
There's millennials.
X.
Is it
X?
Gen Z and then X?
I
Or
think
X
it's
and then
X.
Z?
I think it's Z then X.
Z, we're going
I mean,
backwards. We are going
Fact
back-
checkers. Yeah. they're-
Yeah.
I can't keep up, I can't keep up with the generations. Like, because, a lot of places that you check, especially for like millennials, like there'll be different timelines too. It'd be like 1982 to 2000 or like 99. So, and then other places will say something different. So it's like who you trust and who, I don't
know if it really matters, but
know.
but yeah.
Yeah, there it is. There it is.
Oh, she's even like she's kind of dressed like a ninja, and she's pulling like a ninja Julian with a machete.
Wait,
it looks like
you
this
mean when you guys
this
wield
looks-
your bourbon, you don't carry a machete at the same time?
Yeah, she's got
I
like
thought
this
that
like
was standard issue.
dude. Yeah, I wonder. That looks like
Swashbuckler.
that's really interesting.
Ah.
Maybe.
Headed back to Heath Ledger's house.
Maybe.
Yeah.
She does look like
She's got Yeezys on. I know that.
the ugliest shoes fucking ever. They better be comfortable.
$1,000 later.
Yeah, I wonder if she walked onto a set of Trailer Park Boys, I think she would look like she fit right in.
Maybe.
What was a glass? She literally had like a whiskey glass too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I honestly I think about folks like that. Along, you put like Britney Spears in the same category. Those kids go, Justin Bieber, like all those folks, they go through such an unreal experience that I don't know how they couldn't come out not fucked up.
Yeah, I think Britney probably is one of the, she kind of got it pretty hard and through the upbringing and everything. And then her lawyers and her parents and her family, trying to get more money off of her and controlling her. I think that's pretty sad. I think Bieber, having that much money and having that much fame when he's younger. Yeah, I think he probably went through it all, but he seems like he's came out of it pretty well. To be that successful, in comparison to like I shaved my head in the early 2000s and I'm going crazy, like, or maybe they just haven't painted the picture of him like that yet. So
Great song, by the way.
yeah,
What?
She said I'm going crazy.
going crazy. Speaking of music, Nickelback just came out with a new song.
Stop it.
100%, man.
Stop.
It's like a dirty little secret of mine. We were jamming on the way here, the Nickelback. It was amazing. I was like, damn, this is pretty good, actually.
Oh,
my
did it sound
God.
like
Fred
every
gives
other-
me so much shit for Nickelback.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I do.
they're so fun to hate. They really are. They're fun to hate.
Because it's so easy. Because
It's
they
so easy.
suck.
I
They
mean,
don't suck. I can take that back. They don't suck.
you get enough bourbon going around. We play a song.
That's some bullshit.
No, because I've taken it back
Thank
for
you,
you
Fred.
too. I'm just saying, like, but because one song is good and all of their songs sound the exact same doesn't mean all of the songs are good. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely. They have a niche market and they know who they're playing to.
That's
And
and they did it better than Creed.
I
Because
was
Creed,
I was waiting to say that, and you stole
right.
it from me.
Creed, that
Damn
guy,
you.
was it Scott Stapp?
Yeah,
he,
Scott
he
Stapp.
went fucking crazy too.
did he really?
Oh,
I didn't see that part. No, no.
I think he went crazy back in the early 2010s.
Okay.
Like he was found like I think he
Like bourbon wielding machete crazy, or
oh no, like found naked in the middle of the streets, claiming that the bank like stole all his money and there was a conspiracy and like aliens and all like and all the there was some weird stuff that
Yeah.
happened. Maybe I think it was maybe mid 2010s.
So he's in the poster.
Yeah,
or-
baby. He definitely would have been in QAnon if he's still around. For sure. Yeah, he went off the rails.
Can you explain the poster?
No.
No one can explain the poster.
No, I mean I can give you a have you ever I'm sure you've
Did you
had
find it
the-
at Spencer's?
No, so
Okay.
this was given to us by a guest.
Okay.
He's been on it a handful of times, one of our buddies, and he's a Tony's bourbon mule.
Nice.
But so I'm assuming you've heard of the Great Awakening.
Oh,
but-
absolutely.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I've explained this before, so I don't have to go in too much detail. But yeah, so it's just the I like to talk about crazy things, and I've joked about, whether the earth is round or not, and just joking basically. But so he got us this poster because it's fun.
Yeah.
And he likes looking into these things, and usually he sends me a bunch of stuff and he's like, dude, it's just nuts. I'm like, I don't have time to go down that rabbit hole. And I won't do it. But it does have Nazis in Antarctica dealing with the lizard aliens.
Oh, wow.
So that's fun.
So straight from Alex Jones' bedroom.
All of it.
Yeah.
Even more so. It talks about Q and all of the things. I mean, it talks about, there's stuff I don't even know what it talks about.
Right.
All of the things, the higher mind, the oversoul. I'm not really sure what that is.
The Vatican.
Oh, well, that's a fucked up place. We don't have to talk about that. But I did see, I don't know. I was looking at the moon.
Not tax that offers immunity.
Yeah. Basically, that's a little weird. But I did see the
Shields
moon.
Pedophiles? What do you mean?
Why? Well, allegedly.
No, there's still allegedly about that. That's very fucking fiable.
I don't see that the moon is basically the Death Star?
I thought you were going to say made of cheese.
The barbecue spare ribs.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Much better.
I don't see that one. I just watched a video the other day where the guy was saying that there's more evidence that the moon is basically a hollow spaceship.
Okay.
Than what science says it is. And it wasn't as crazy as it sounds, which was interesting. But I don't see that on the map. But it's fun. There's a lot of fun stuff on there.
It'd be nice to go back. 2022. Why not? Let's go back. We went right. I mean, just curious. We went once. Let's go back. Obviously, there was a space race, and I think there was reason to go.
Yeah, that's what I've always questioned. Like, why haven't we gone back? Because I think that's if we go up to the space station all the time, we're doing tests there. Well, why aren't we doing tests on the moon?
Yeah,
that seems like a logical thing, right? Set up a little camp, just like the International Space Station, and do tests on the moon.
Yeah, I think it would be
scientifically.
Yeah, I think it would be a good test site at least to hey, we want to go to Mars. Well, let's go ahead and experiment on the moon first. Let's see how things go on the moon before we go to Mars.
Yeah, let's throw a tent up on the moon.
Yeah,
maybe camp for the night and see what happens. Sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
Or let's go check out the dark side. Because that always kind of tripped me out. Why it doesn't rotate. Technically, it rotates, but the same face is always facing us. Like that's synced up pretty well. I'm not saying it's pretty wild. And I don't understand. Like we went to the moon. Like you said, you went to the moon once. So why have we never gone back? And why don't we do we have any LiDAR imagery of the backside or anything like that? I don't know.
Yeah, we just don't talk about it anymore.
We don't. Nobody why is nobody talking about the dark side of the moon except for Pink Floyd?
Yeah, and that was 30 years ago, 40 years ago,
right?
When that came out. So, yeah, that's a tough subject, especially for people that maybe don't believe that we went to the moon and
that's also true.
The moon land.
Do you know anybody in that camp?
I'm a skeptic, but I won't openly say it happened or not. But from all the evidence and all the stuff that they show us, it kind of seems a little dicey. Well, it seems a little fake.
Yeah, I used to think that was ridiculous, but now the more I think about, like I said, why haven't we gone back? That seems like that would be fairly important.
Yeah,
it's.
So I'll leave that one alone too much. That one's so hard. It's like, how do you actually prove it or disprove it?
Right.
So it's really hard to be. Well, it's easy to be skeptical about it, at least in the right mind. It's like, why haven't we gone back? I get, the profit. There's no profit there to actually go, and that's why we haven't went. It's just there's nothing to gain, essentially.
Yeah, but that could be the same about the International Space Station.
Sure. Yeah, I could see that.
If you're going to the space station to do scientific tests to progress technology on Earth or whatever it is, then you do the same thing for the moon, right? So that's why I like to take life with a healthy dose of skepticism. Obviously I'm curious, and that's why I joke about I don't know that the Earth is round. I think it is. I would all the evidence that I've seen, I'm sure we're probably on this globe, right? But I've never been up there. I've never seen it. So I'm not going to disbelieve it, but I don't know.
Yeah. I feel
There's
like
a difference between knowing and belief, I guess.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I feel like there's been an increase though with flat earthers, and they think,
for sure.
I can kind of say mostly that I'm not in that camp at all. Moon landing, maybe. Flat Earth, I'm not really there. So, I'll go with it's round for now. So until there's a lot more evidence that disprove it. But
Right.
I don't think there is. I don't think, a lot of the stuff that I've heard about flat Earth is provably wrong. So, you got NASA up there taking pictures, apparently. You got the space station taking pictures, and you kind of want to believe that a little bit. And, if everything they teach or they put down the pipe, we got to be skeptical or wrong, then what do we believe in life sometimes? And that's not one way to live. So
Right. And that's why that's one thing I try to kind of look at life and all those things as. It's like, just because I don't know something to be sure, well, all I have to do, you have to look at all of the factors that you're looking at. You have to take everything you have. And then if you don't have, quote unquote, a true scientific theory or evidence that you can, a test that you can perform yourself to know these things, like, unless I'm going to jump on a weather balloon and go, with an oxygen mask and see how high I can go to prove, the earth is round or whatever it is. Like, I take all the evidence I have and weigh them out and go, okay, well, this is what I believe, this is what I don't believe, or this is what I just don't know. But to just take a piece of evidence that somebody gives you and say, yep, that's it, boom, like, I believe that. And then when somebody counteracts that and you get angry with them or tell them they're wrong or liars or they're dumb, this, that, whatever, it's like, well, what scientific tests have you done? Like, how much do you know about this? Like,
sure.
How have you seen it yourself? Like, well, it's like, well, no, but that's what the experts say. Well, experts have said a lot of things through history. So, let's try to use some common sense. And
I think we're here because of the experts. We're at the place we are now because of the experts. And it's really hard to quantify like what the experts have done for this and how much good it actually provided. The expert opinion was to lock down during COVID. The expert opinion was to do a lot of things during COVID. And yet, here we are with I don't know how you quantify how many deaths could have been saved or how many deaths they actually saved by doing these things. But we also don't know, essentially how much harm it actually caused to people, how much harm it actually like set back students learning. Obesity rates have obviously went up. I think the stat was something along the lines of 2-year-olds to 18-year-olds. We had 20.7% obesity prior to the pandemic. After the pandemic, we're at 37.8.
Jeez.
And 20% obesity rate in that age range is still pretty bad. Yeah.
Far too high.
And what do we know about the entire thing? What we knew was, well, obesity was a major factor in people dying. So, and this was all expert driven. So, did we do more harm than good, essentially? And, those are discussions I'd like to talk about. And that way, we can at least find some common ground, or we can say, okay, let's never do that again.
Right.
So,
well, that's the thing too, when you obviously, the easy rebuttal of that as well, hindsight's 2020. They were doing the best that they thought at the time. Okay, maybe. I remember even us for the first couple months, it was like, oof, like what is this thing? It was almost surreal. Like, you didn't, like, looking back now, just if you cut off, you block that first like month or so out in the memory, like, I should have been a lot more freaked out than what I was. But then as we started learning things, and that's when I really started diving deep into this, which doing the show, like, I wanted to kind of understand, I wanted to have a cursory knowledge of all of the random things happening, just so I, knew if somebody brought something up. Excuse me. But it was like, so I was looking at all these things, and we were talking about it and looking at all like the actual data and just the numbers, like not like the numbers somebody was feeding me. Like, I would multiple times on the show, I even pulled up like CDC, World Health Organization, like data. And you look at some of these conflicting, data points and stories. And when you put multiple things together, you're like, well, there's just none of this makes sense. Like, I'm not saying they're trying to lie or, do whatever, but like, some of these things just don't line up. So like, we're just kind of like, well, what's going on here?
Mhm.
And it was enough to just ask that question. And I think a lot maybe I see it because I'm looking for it, is people questioning things and, and I hate to use the phrase like questioning the narrative, but like questioning any narrative and questioning anything, like if you hear something new, any piece of information, instead of just going, oh, well, okay, yeah, I accept that as truth, or being freaked out by something you see on the news or whatever it is, thinking about, okay, how does this make sense? Where does this fit? Do actually all the data points like fit together for this and make sense and, build this, structure and framework for this whole thing to stand up? And it just never did. So it's like, in what you're being told by, the experts and leaders, and it's not that. And I also realized this too about some of our leaders in all different types of areas. They're like, as much as I hate to just put it in this category, I think some people just got there because there wasn't a better choice. They just just wound up there because who wants to go into government? Who wants to go in these positions where you make shit money and you're responsible and everybody hates you?
Whoa, how dare you say that about our president, Fred?
I think you can say that about any president.
Yeah.
Like that there's a good portion, millions of people, the higher you get, millions of people are going to hate you. Millions of people are going to think you're this, that, whatever. Like, so regardless of that, like who wants to do that and make $300,000 a year when you could now, especially these days, go into technology, if you're smart enough, and make billions with probably a quarter of the stress.
Well, I guess you could just be friends with Pelosi and just get insider trading tips. And
I was going to say, or be friends with Ukraine.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole.
That's a
different
laundry machine.
Pick.
Yeah.
A laundry machine. I've never heard it quite put like that, but there's a lot of weird connections there, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Well, we just want accountability. We just want transparency. We would like to see how it's, how it's going. Like, okay, this money is allocated to this. Okay, that's cool. This money is allocated to that. It's all right. And like just transparency. Just give us more transparency. That's all.
You mean transparency like, hey, we're going to pay off student loan debt, but we're not going to disclose where that money is going to come from? That kind of transparency?
Well, I think it's like that for everything. And we don't think this is going to create any inflation either. That's a lot of the economists that I've heard. It's like, this isn't going to, all these billions that we give to Ukraine, all these billions that we give to student loan debt, the new bill that created X amount of IRS agents, like, where's this money coming from? Aren't we in like a recession right now? Well, we're not calling it one, but aren't we in one?
It's not a recession.
And
I've heard that.
Yeah. What we knew was 2, quarters of down GDP. We're in a recession. That's what we knew for 50 years. Right. But that's changed the last year. We've entered a new reality, I guess.
We like changing definitions of things recently, apparently.
But to circle back a little bit, you said you weren't really that spooked at the beginning, or you should have been more spooked at the beginning than you were.
We were spooked a little bit. Mm-hmm. Like, I remember we used to have wine with DeWine at 3:00 or whatever. Yeah. And it was like, all right, like, how's this going? And then after, like, once looking back on it now, I'm surprised we weren't more freaked out than what we were. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's just because like we're kind of homebodies anyways. And so like, it was like, what, you're telling us we're just going to hang out at home all the time? And I was lucky enough that I kept working. So like, it was like, so now I can, when I need to be in my office, I can be at home. Okay, this is cool. And we had we have a daughter that we didn't want to scare her by freaking out, because it's like, all right, but it was just looking back on it, like that first couple of weeks, I'm like, it doesn't surprise me how people could easily fall into this scare tactic trap for extended periods of time. Mm-hmm. Because depending on what you're watching and what you're feeding yourself with and what you're doing, then that could be really scary. I remember, and I know everyone likes to beat on CNN. I mean, rightfully so, but like even a year and a half after it started, and it was kind of like, all right, we realize what this is. We understand the metrics of, who's at the most risk. Like, we have vaccines that at that time you weren't supposed to be able to spread it or, contract it, but that's another point. But they still had 24 hours a day. You turn on CNN, it's like a rolling ticker of cases and death count. And it was just like, and it was like, oh, like I see what they're doing.
Yeah.
And it was like, this isn't like, and they never talked about, like you said, they never talked about, all right, well, it's the elderly. It's the, 75, roughly 75% of the people in the ICU were morbidly obese with like 3 comorbidities. Like, it was like, oh, okay. So we need to be encouraging people to be healthy, to make good decisions, like, and trying to protect, the vulnerable population. Like those all seemed like, okay, that stuff makes sense, but they weren't saying that. And it was like, we need to close the gyms. We need to do like, all these different things. It was like, so many of those things, obviously, like we said, hindsight's 2020. But once that data starts coming out, there was no like retracing and saying, hey, sorry guys, we got this wrong. Because if they would have done that,
not.
yeah, but if they would have done that, like it would have been like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
great. Like, where do we go from here, guy? Like pros, experts, where do we go from here? Because
Maybe a little bit more trust at that point, right?
Right.
But possibly political suicide at the same time. For one team to get it wrong and they're like, oh, it's us. But
yeah, but they both got it wrong. Because you think like,
yeah.
I mean, Trump towards going into the election was pushing these vaccines and getting them, what was it? Operation Light Speed or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And it was like, whoa, like, hold on. I don't know if we want to be messing with people's DNA and call it Operation Light Speed that we're going to like roll this out as fast as we can because, there's safety protocols. We need tests and we need to figure out what these things do. Like, I get the long term is those consequences are scary, but it was just, everybody was just fucking up and no one wants to everybody always wants to claim the good things, but then anything bad, it's like, well, that's all it is. Like,
I remember going to a zoo when I was young and they had the rainforest picture and, the music playing of the rainforest and they had the ticker above it of all the trees that are dwindling down right now. And it felt the same way. You go and turn on CNN, it's like, oh my God, these numbers are just going through the roof. And, how much, fear was that? How much propaganda? I don't know. How did they get those numbers so fast? Where'd those numbers come from? How are they just ticking in? Like, is there a guy? Yep, death. Like, how are you doing this? It's magic. So, yeah, but to run it back on me and my wife, we basically, we were a little freaked out. We went to the grocery, or I was maybe a little bit more freaked out than she was at the beginning. And I don't know why, but it's my first pandemic. It's new.
We're all first time for everybody.
Yeah.
Probably because she worked in healthcare, so she was like, I'm probably immune to all this shit.
Yeah, she's like, I have all the vaccines. Yeah. But I remember, coming home and being like, you keep your shoes outside. We don't take our shoes inside. I think there was a couple times where we like kind of dusted off our groceries a little bit.
Oh, we did. Yeah.
We
did it.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were there.
So doing all that nonsense, wearing the mask, the whole 9 yards. And, I think I relate it to kind of like camping. It was almost like a memorable feeling, like it was a little rough, but you kind of look back, you're like, it was kind of fun. People were dying, but it was fun. Like, because Joe Exotic's on, that was kind of fun. We're shutting down the economy. I've never witnessed this. Like, okay, this is kind of cool. We're staying home for a week. And so there was a little bit of like, I don't know, nostalgia looking back at it now compared to like the last 2 years of like going through the whole vaccine and everything with that. So I think that part has been less fun than like the beginning of the pandemic where, you're watching Joe Exotic and you're staying home from work and you're working from home and, probably drinking too much and just hanging out. So, not saying the pandemic was anything but bad, but there was some, I think there's some silver linings to it a little bit.
Absolutely.
So what those are, not the top of my head right now. So,
I
think there's a couple, it's like music. I found some new music that I'd never listened to before. But yeah, what would be your silver lining to some of
this right here?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. I mean, that was probably, there's obviously a lot of things, but this is probably one of the biggest things that happened during that.
Okay.
Because it was, we played music and I had most of the equipment. So it was like, well, we talked about, well, no one's like really talking or interacting. Like, why don't we do a podcast? That sounds like a kind of a terrible but cool idea. So we'll try it. Why not? Everyone else is doing it.
Yeah.
but the experiences that we've gained through doing this is by far the top one. But I mean, working from home is kind of cool. You know, honestly, I think structurally, like, I think there's a lot of things that we realized that I think a lot of people have woke up to, and I think going back to the poster, Great Awakening, I think there is and was, and I think that's when it started. I think that was a good point where it started ramping up, is people waking up to the world around them was not always isn't what they had always thought it was. You know, they're seeing, you know, from any angle, it's like, oh, you mean I can do all like the working thing. If you're a corporate worker, working on a computer, like, I don't need to go to my office. I don't need to spend a 45 minutes commute, be in my office, have people stop and bug me. I don't get any work done. I don't want to be there. I hate it. I go dress up. Why? So I don't know. There's some kind of like club I have to fit into. Like, I can't just wear like, you know, nice clean clothes. I have to wear like these specific like clothes to this specific place to do this job I can do from a computer literally anywhere. And it kind of that was I think the first thing that kind of clicked in people's heads, that like, you can do whatever you want with your life, and how this whole thing works out. Like, figure it out. The game's out there. You just have to figure out how to play it how you want to. And I think a lot of people are waking up to that fact that like, this life is what you make it, you know? And just because this is the way things have always been done, and this is what you've always been told, doesn't necessarily mean that's the best way or even true, or that's the way it has to be, or anything like that. So I think that in a way we have started this great awakening where people are like, you know what, like, I think it was halfway, about a year or so ago, when they started noticing that the jobless claims, all the unemployment rate started dropping. And it was like, wow, people are getting their jobs back. And then it was like, well, the employed rate was dropping. We're like, well, how are both of these things happening? It was like, well, people just started going, you know, fuck this job. I'm not doing this anymore. We're going to tighten our budget, and, you know, we got one good income, and we're going to do different things, or we're going to start a side hustle, or start our own business. And I wouldn't be surprised that if as many businesses that were shut down and lost during the pandemic, which I think was a huge tragedy, it wouldn't surprise me if even more in the next few years have been started, because people are realizing, like, I am tired of playing the game. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I want to do whatever I want to do what I want to do. And they're finding paths to do that. And I think that's been, you know, pretty inspiring to watch people just go and say, like, you know, I'm just going for it. Because maybe the next pandemic is actually a real one. Yeah. You know, and it knocks us a lot of us out.
Yeah. Not saying COVID didn't suck and it wasn't killing people.
Yeah.
You know, it obviously did. But I think there's you know, there's some people out there that owe other people apology. You know, just knowing what we know now, it's just like, would it been treated differently? Like, knowing that the vaccine wasn't going to protect you from getting COVID, or the vaccine wasn't going to protect you from transmitting it. Now, would things, and we never reached herd immunity, would that have stopped OSHA or the government from forcing OSHA to, you know, telling big corporate businesses that their employees have to get juiced? Or, you know, would it have stopped a lot of things like that? Just the rhetoric around all the divisiveness online. You know, just like, okay, we know that this isn't going to do what we're telling you it's going to do. So don't be mad at each other. Just live, you know. But that didn't happen, you know. And whether that's for sales and marketing, or they really didn't know. But one thing's for certain, we got it wrong. And so I think when we get something wrong and we try to force somebody to do something, essentially, there should be an apology. Hey, sorry, we messed up. You know, in my opinion, you know, but I don't think
know if you'll ever get that.
No, I'm not looking for it.
Right.
I wasn't really like, but you seen people out there. It's like, man, you know, I'm a truck driver, or I just want to go and do my job. I just want to work from home. Or sports players that, you know, spent their whole career, you know, leading up to college sports, and then they have to do it to keep playing. And, you know, when they know that, like, oh, I got COVID. I got COVID twice when I was vaccinated. It's like, well, how'd that make sense then?
Yeah.
You know, did it keep me from the hospital, or statistics showing that I was young enough that I was safe from the hospital regardless? So I think it sucks either way. You know, the divisiveness that we have going on in the country right now, it's like, where does it end? How do we end it? Is the government actually stepping in to help us end it, or are they a catalyst to making it worse?
Right.
And it feels like in this day and age, it's a catalyst to making it worse.
Yeah. I 100% agree with you there. And I think, you know, there's a lot of times where I hear people like, oh, but what are we supposed to do about, you know, these news conglomerations and corporations and military industrial complex and the government and all, like, these people, whatever, regardless of whichever your favorite candidate is. You know, I think it starts with, honestly, I really think it starts with people like you having these conversations, because on places where people don't expect them, you know, where usually your entire feed is, you know, cats and dogs and some weird memes that your aunt shares and ads about the things that you've talked about.
You know my aunt.
The last week. I'm just, not your aunt.
Wait a minute, like I seen those memes too.
No, I didn't know I was going to be that specific and close. But
Fox News on there as well.
I nailed it.
Yeah.
You know, but like that's what, you know, a lot of that is. But it's like when someone comes across, you know, those conversations that surprise people, they're like, whoa, I didn't, like, make people think.
Yeah.
You know, I know not everyone wants to think, not everyone wants to get on social media and have some kind of philosophical conversation. But if we're not doing those things at any point in time, well, then where are we going to be? We're going to be in the exact same place that we are.
Mm.
You know, cat pictures and just being lied to consistently. So it's like, we have to start having these conversations one-on-one, right? Together as people and citizens, and kind of taking ownership in your local communities. Like, that's one thing but prior to this, I've never been one that has wanted to run a business. I've never been one that wants to be in the spotlight or wants to, like, get involved with their community. Cause, like, people, ew, gross. I don't want to, like, deal with, like, I hated people. You know, one of my, I have a shirt. I drink bourbon, know things, and hate people.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I do. Like, and I hated people. Like, I don't want anything to do with people. But I don't see any way out of it. You know, all there is a decline in our society if we don't start having open, honest conversations and stop just throwing shit at each other for no reason.
Mm.
That's, you know, anybody you talk to, most people, 99% of people, even if you think you completely disagree with them, if you could actually sit down, if you're both willing to sit down and have a conversation, then you're going to find out that, oh, we're a lot more alike than, yeah, we may disagree on some of these hot button topics, because that's why they're hot button topics, is because that's the divisive ones that we like to push in the, you know, the limelight. But if we just realize that, like, oh, like, you're just doing you and you want to live your life and, you know, take care of your family and be happy and enjoy, you know, whatever it is, your underwater basket weaving that is your favorite hobby, but, you know, like, really at the core, there's that 1% of in between people that's what we're going to, like, really hone in on and try to just hate each other for. Like,
100%. I think we all had that friend in high school or middle school or something that's like, he was super cool around you when you or him were together, and then when you get with all the boys, it's just like he was kind of a dick, you know. And I think, you know, that's a little bit like Facebook. You get on there and nobody wants to get got. You know, they're on this stage and they're like, nope, he ain't getting me. You know, I'll defend myself to a T with everything I got. And you know, when you actually sit down with somebody, maybe at the bar or somewhere, and just talk, it's just like, yeah, I can see your point. You know, you make sense. And I think that's really what we need to do, is actually just go out more and talk more. And, you know, I think the shutdown was another catalyst to divisiveness. It's like, oh, the only method of communication now is going on Facebook or going on Instagram or social media.
You're all scared to death of each other.
Yeah, and they can control everything with that, because we know we're just, you know, they can control the narrative through the whole thing, instead of, like, we actually just get together and talk. And I think that's where things would actually change a little bit and, come back to being friends, being family. And because I think there was a lot of families broken up about this. There was a lot of friendships broken up. There's no doubt about that. So yeah, it's sad. And I'm glad it's maybe coming to a tail end and we won't see much of that anymore. But it doesn't seem like we're going to have a shortage of other things that pop up that, are divisive as well, unfortunately. But political, like I think the news sources like CNN, MSNBC, all these news sources, they were actually on a decline right before Trump. They were almost like going bankrupt. And then Trump came along and it's like, oh, we're revitalized. We have something to hate and like, big media to push. And I think
he gave them plenty of ammunition.
100%. Yeah. From his tweets, just how he acts. And, this guy was, divisive too, but man, yeah, it was definitely fun to watch sometimes, but
yeah, well, that's what it's one of those things where like, I'm a huge fan of capitalism. But when you have capitalism that reigns, people are going to find negative things to capitalize as well, and what sells better than fear and sex?
Yeah.
I mean, so.
Yeah, I think fear is the number one emotion, like the number one controlling emotion. I think you got fear and then love and then hate. Those are like the top three.
That's not surprising. When you think about, you see, I wonder what the percentage is of people that are scared to death of spiders. Because I feel like that's got to be a top. What are the top phobias? Can we get a list of top phobias? Because that's when you see somebody with like, if somebody has like a phobia of something and you put that thing in, it has such a strange control, like even physically, emotionally, all it's like, oh, like what is that? Like how, so you realize how much fear can control somebody given the
or even how many phobias are there out there?
Oh, well, that's we got to talk about genders next.
I know Tony would love that. So we just might.
Aerophobia. I believe that. Trypophobia. I don't have that. I have a mild case of uncomfortableness. Trypophobia. It just looks weird. I don't like I don't like it. So we have trypophobia, the fear of, it's not holes, but it's, whatever. Look it up. Aerophobia, the fear of flying, was number 9. Mysophobia, the fear of germs. That makes sense. Claustrophobia, naturally. Astrophobia, fear of thunder and lightning. I never would have guessed that.
My dog has that.
Xenophobia, the fear of dogs. I get that because some dogs are assholes. Agoraphobia, fear of open or crowded place. Open places. Why would you be afraid of open places? How is agoraphobia the fear of open and crowded places? That doesn't make any sense. How is that the same thing?
Yeah, you figured like, I don't know.
Those would be like two different things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I like open places, but I don't like crowded places. Anyways. Acrophobia, the fear of heights, naturally. Snakes is number 2. And naturally, arachnophobia, the fear of spiders. Nearly 30.5% of arachnophobia sufferers are living in the United States alone because we're a bunch of fucking pussies.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It is the most common animal phobia around the world. Well, naturally, because they are kind of creepy looking, but they're fast, they're silent, and there's a lot of deadly ones out there.
How do you categorize a phobia, though? It's like, I don't like spiders. I don't want them crawling on me. I don't want a snake crawling on me if it's sneaking up on me. Is that a phobia? Or is this something that's like, no, I can't sleep for fucking days because I just seen a spider. So I wonder, like, how do you quantify that?
I don't know.
I think, do I have to take medication for it?
Well, technically, a phobia is the irrational fear of something.
Okay.
I'm almost positive. You might want to double check my definition there, but I think a phobia is the irrational fear of a certain thing. At least it used to be, unless they changed the definition of that too. Because you never know these days.
Yeah.
But that makes sense because like there is a point where, all right, there's a spider over there. I don't need to freak out because like, most spiders don't jump like 12 feet.
Right.
So like, I don't like that, but I'm not like, like that seems
a persistent, abnormal, or irrational fear of a specific thing or situation that compels one to avoid it despite the awareness and reassurance that it's not dangerous.
See?
Irrational. Yep, that makes sense. So I think in that list, we probably all have a rational fear of all those a little bit. It's like, I don't want to be stuck in a cardboard box for 2 days and like, I'm going to
buried alive.
Yeah, I'm going to get a little freaked out. Yeah.
That would be good.
So.
Yeah, and I don't want spiders crawling on my face. I'm okay with snakes.
What do you think over there, Tone? You're really You're really brooding over there.
He's
I'll
brooding.
pretty much just send it on all those. I don't care.
No, you're not. You're good with everything.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
See,
Put me in a box with snakes and spiders, cover me up
at the top
See
of the
what
cliff.
happens.
with
Let's
a bunch of
let's get
people in
weird.
there.
Yeah, let's get weird.
Let's get
with a bunch of
weird.
people. I think that's what started monkeypox.
Yep.
Wild
100%.
Hey, what do we try next here? Tell him. I might try.
I thought you were asking what disease was
No,
coming out
disease.
next year.
What disease are we going for next? Yeah,
What is coming next? We could make bets. What is the next pandemic?
can't.
Or what's the next shutdown, I guess?
Oh no! I don't. Do you think do you think there's going to be another shutdown?
I don't know. I think, you got the governor of California telling the residents to,
That's true.
turn up their.
They're shutting down their electricity.
It could be climate shutdown. So we need to shut down for climate. And that could be, here we go with conspiracies, but we'll just call it early. That could be the next shutdown. In order to control climate, we're going to go ahead and shut down everybody from traveling for a day and reduce the CO2 emittance.
I guess that wouldn't surprise me much then.
But
I saw. Did you see the article? What was it? I think it was in Colorado. There was like 24,000 people that had their house thermostat automatically controlled by the company because it was too hot.
that's wild.
Well, so it was a big thing going around with like, oh, they're gonna, you can't use your air conditioning, and it was like set at like 74 or 78 or something like that. Like, it's pretty hot for air conditioning, but it was something that they saved money to sign up for this plan because they had a smart thermostat through the company, and they got a discount if they signed up for this program that basically gave the company permission to do that if the circumstances were right.
Right.
So it was like, well,
It was right in the contract.
yeah, like
Mhm.
you have a smart thermostat and you signed that the company is allowed to control your thermostat. So I mean,
Smart thermostat, dumb customer.
yeah, like, or that's what you can't be upset by that. But then the same thing, people on, for lack of a better term, people on the right took that and were like, and blew this out of proportion, that it was like, oh, the government's going to control your thermostat next. And it was like, all right, like let's get the facts here.
A lot of Republicans probably don't let their wife control the thermostat. Wait a minute.
I'm not touching that one.
Yeah.
No, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna
No.
try this. Do you want to try this, Tone?
Sure.
Give her a
My
go.
last name ends in a Vitch, so
Oh.
Hey, there you go.
I'll give her a swig
Yeah.
too. Why not?
Tell me when.
That's good. We'll go back to bourbon.
Give her a
hit me.
more.
No,
oh,
try the.
I thought you.
No,
poured
I
some.
said my last name ends in Vitch.
I thought you poured some yourself.
We hailed from the Cossacks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate this, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
will,
Absolutely. Yeah.
We'll definitely find some. Every once in a while, a good like seltzer, like especially like a little bit. We like to make mojitos in the summer.
Okay. Yeah.
Some fresh, like some squeeze that lime, and we have a big mint plant.
Mm-hmm.
If we're gonna have chickens, might as well have mint in the garden, right? But yeah, you can mix it with some seltzer, a little bit of lime, a little bit, whatever. Yeah, I can see that.
Mint grows like a weed. Yeah, we have a lot of the mint.
Oh, yeah?
And man, it's we try to do stuff with it, or we donate it to like some bars that make mojitos as well, or like Local Roots or something like that. But man, does it grow like a weed?
That's really good. That's really good. I could see something like that. I could see how people could drink. You want to try it?
Yeah.
You want to try some?
It's not usually a vodka.
No, yeah. I mean, usually it tastes like rubbing alcohol.
Yeah.
But that's really good.
That's what we're going for.
Rubbing alcohol?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
No, I think that. I mean, I also did just have this 120 Willet, but as far like it
definitely tastes a lot more bland than anything like Buffalo Trace.
Yeah,
or,
but
it's a lot easier to drink now.
Yeah, but for vodka, like I mean,
is it 80 proof or what is that?
yeah, it's an 80 proof.
Yeah.
Yeah, was it Rika? Is this a brand, your go-to brand?
Yeah, the first three letters is like Reynolds, so I was like, yeah, I'm by that. So I don't.
Hey, whatever.
I don't think there's any like rhyme or reason. I just think it looked fancy. It's like Iceland vodka. I'm like, all right, that looks like a good gift. Yeah. Unfortunately, I just picked out something that like looks cool. I'm a sucker to marketing as well. So even though I'm in marketing, it's like, oh, they did good with branding and talking about distilled with renewable energy. Well, I might not buy it anymore then.
I don't think it's
lava
a bad,
rock filtration.
rock filtration.
I don't think all renewable energy is bad.
Yeah,
but I think some of
the
it's bad. Some of it's bad.
Yeah,
though.
the idea is great.
Yeah,
I am absolutely 100% down with solar and wind and renewable energy and all these ideas.
Yeah,
for sure. Like that sounds great. Like I don't think burning a bunch of coal probably isn't in our best interest.
Possibly.
Yeah. I have a good theory about that too. But like we can't like, are we just going to go backwards and destroy all our infrastructure and economy and people's lives because we want to cut off we can't just take some time and figure out how to slowly, transition, I guess, into better renewable energies and kind of support this whole structure with everything as we slowly do this. Instead it's, you look at, I think, wasn't it Germany that just like shut down like 3 of their nuclear plants? And then the chancellor's like, yeah, this winter, wear some thick clothes, guys, because we're going to have power outages. And then, I think, was it the UK? I think just recently talked about their thing came out where it was, they expect power outages throughout winter and like throughout this whole stage because they're not getting the gas, but they're shutting all their coal plants down, but they aren't like bringing anything else like back online. And then it was like, well, wait a minute, like if we're shutting our power plants down, obviously there's some things with Russia and the oil lines or the gas lines, but that's a whole different, kind of a whole different conversation. But then in the midst of, this country is pulling their natural gas from you, you're going to start shutting down your other power plants too. And then you're also going to like not invest in nuclear energy and so where are you getting your power from, folks?
It's all right. I got an absentee ballot that I didn't ask for that was just sent to me that I can light on fire and warm myself with.
Really? What do you like? What's the plan?
Yeah.
Like, because if these things aren't supporting your infrastructure, why would you continue to take away more? That doesn't make a whole.
That's the idea. It's like, do we have the infrastructure set up to house all these electric cars? I don't think we do. I think we just proved that. I think we just proved that with Gavin Newsom coming out and say, hey, you know what? We're going to go all electric cars by 2035. You're not going to be able to buy a gas-powered car anymore. And then like literally 2 days later, he's like, hey guys, could you turn up your thermostats? The grid's kind of overrun. And there's been a decline in people buying smart cars and electric cars. People that have had electric cars for like past 4 years, they've traded it for a gas one just recently. There's a lot of stats saying that it's the other way around. People are going the other way. They're already sick of these smart cars and stuff. So, and I think the fact is, do we actually see an increase in climate if we start doing is electric cars the answer to climate change?
Right, because where are you getting those from?
What else is the answer? Like, so I actually looked into planes the other day and like how many gallons of fuel they burn per day. And it was crazy. It was 37 million gallons per day. And so then we were like looking at Los Angeles and the population and how many gallons per car it takes. And literally we could fill up a gallon for everybody in Los Angeles, that would be a driver, with 1 day of basically planes flying around the United States. So I don't know. Is it all us that we have to depend on it? Or is it the planes, is the yachts, is the boats, or what else are we changing? Or is this just a ploy to put more taxes out there? Hey, you don't have an electric car, so we're going to tax you if you want to keep that gas car. Or so, it's hard to put a pin on where we're going with this. And is it truly going to change the trajectory we're on for climate change? And is there correlation that we're causing it because of the cars?
Right.
So, these are just questions I have, and I can't find a solid answer either way. So it's just nice to bring it up to people. And, I think electric cars are cool. I think they go really fast. I wouldn't mind having a Tesla S.
Yeah, I would have one if I could afford it.
Yeah.
And plus all the other things.
100%.
Yeah.
But I don't want to like not own stuff either. I would like to own stuff.
No, by 2040, you'll own nothing. You'll be happy. That's what Klaus Schwab said.
Yeah, 2030.
Right?
So we got
it's 2030?
Yeah, dude, we got like 7 years.
Oh man, I can't wait to be happy.
Yeah. No, I think it was more pointed like you will be happy.
You will be.
Yeah, it wasn't like a question.
It's like real 1984 shit. That's right.
Yeah, you will be happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, like BMW just came out with so they're selling their 2023 cars. So you can get their cars. If you want the heated seats, it's $20 a month.
I saw that.
And it's just like, is this where we're going?
Subscription heated seats.
It's kind of the same way with Tesla, man. You didn't
hear Tony's real squint. You didn't hear about that?
So I heard about that with some other cars, but is it like you pay a certain amount, or like it doesn't matter like what model you get in order to unlock the heated seats? You still have to, like, if you get an M edition, it doesn't come standard with heated seats or cooled seats or massaging seats.
I think it's everything. I think
I'm getting rid of my BMW then.
100%. No, I have a lot of family members that have BMW.
Yeah, that's too much douchebaggery for me.
Yeah. I mean, if this is the direction we're going, I don't want any part of it either.
I don't either.
I can get on board with the music and stuff. The libraries of Spotify is great. I think there's a lot of advantages. Software kind of sucks. With like all the Adobe products, you got to pay a monthly fee instead of just buying the product. So I get it. That's where software went.
Well, that also,
but let's not do this with every
makes sense
facet.
because technology, especially like software on computers, like I used to think that too, but I was like, okay, well, this kind of does make sense because software is and technology is always
updating,
updating and, security because, there's always some kid in his mom's basement that's 13 and he can hack in and steal your bank records because these fuckers are getting smart these days. Like I get the software thing because it's like, okay, if I pay X amount every year, well, then I'm going to have the most updated product because hell, I mean, if you have a phone that's 2 years old, you're real lucky that it keeps on working if it's beyond 2 years because the technology is advancing so quick.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? A heated seat, I know how that works. It's an element and it's hooked
hot
up.
ass or cold ass. That's all there is to it.
It's an element that's in the seat that's coiled up and it's hooked to a positive. It's hooked to a battery.
Yeah.
It's just electrical current. Why does that need a subscription? Like, there's no updates that's going to be coming to that.
No.
Like, that shit's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, so that
it's like every November through like February, that's where the subscription base is going to be.
That's exactly where it's
we
at.
can plan that.
It would make sense, right? And it has to be a yearly subscription, of course.
Probably. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you can't go month to month. No, that doesn't work.
That is pretty fun if you're riding someone's car that has heated seats.
What is fun?
Oh, you're going to bring this up and I do the same thing.
And you hit the heated button and they don't know. And they're like, why? Jesus, why am I so hot right now?
Especially in the summertime.
Oh, yeah.
It's like 95 degrees out and you're already sweating. Your ass is sweating coming into the car.
Yeah.
That's
so
fucked up.
Boop.
Pranks. Fred does not like pranks.
I'm not a prank guy.
Oh, man.
Like
wait a minute.
Particularly if it makes me sweat. If it makes me sweat, I am out.
Like a turbo vet and you're just done.
Yeah. And I also don't like pranks.
Yeah. You don't like pranks. Man.
I hate pranks.
I kind of remember back in the day, and I'm just going to bring up a little farmer boy here.
I may have told this story before.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Okay. Bob, the old manager, Bob, tall, lanky.
Oh, yeah.
I think he goes to the brewery now, and we see him
okay.
around town, but obviously he's not there anymore. But I remember going down in the basement, and we'd get these orders and big boxes and stuff, and it would be me or Bran, or I could have sworn you were in one of them. But anyhow, we would hide in boxes, and
he'll partake in
no,
pranks.
No.
He just doesn't want them
played on him.
Played on him.
Okay.
Continue, sorry.
Fuck too.
Oh, he can give, but he can't receive.
That's false. That is patently false. I'm okay with pranks as long as it's not like beyond embarrassing in a crowd of people or physically, I don't even know the word, physically encroaching.
Sure.
On me or my property.
Okay. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
so no TP flying in your trees or...
That's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But I remember I got pranked. Somebody thought they were going to prank me while we worked at Farmer Boy. And they put they smashed eggs on my car.
Oh, that's no good. I mean, that's, damage at that point, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Ha. Funny. So
Yeah.
I shoved bacon grease in all of his door handles and smeared all over his windows. Yeah, he was there. I guess apparently he was there till like 3:00 in the morning cleaning it up. And I'm
Can't
like,
see driving.
yeah, I'm like,
I
well,
bet.
fuck you. Like, don't fuck
Yeah.
with my shit. Not cool. Or super embarrassing stuff. Cause I just don't find that stuff funny.
Yeah,
Like
I don't blame you.
Deep fake of you in gay porn. You're not cool with that?
That's not that embarrassing.
Okay.
Cause it's not, I'm like,
Yeah.
like it was fake. Like, well, I
Yeah.
don't, I mean,
You got over that quick.
Yeah, if you-
Allegedly.
hey, if it gets you off
Yeah.
drinks, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you toss me a tip.
You owe
I
me
guess.
$9.99 to my OnlyFans.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
continue.
Back to the boxes.
Yeah, but the boxes.
100%. Oh yeah, back to the boxes.
Sorry.
So, Bill, we would say, "Hey, Bill, Brant fell down. He's down there. He come quick." He'd come down, and then Brant would be just laying on the ground, and then somebody would hop out of the box and just like freak him the fuck out. And so there would be all kinds of stuff that would go
So
on
I'm
like
okay
that.
with something like that's okay.
Yeah, it would be like scare
Because
pranks.
it's like
Cheeky shenanigans.
shit, you got me.
Yeah.
But if I walk through the door and I get like a gallon of milk dumped on my head, not fucking impressed.
Yeah, like the jackass stuff. They're getting paid for these stunts,
Right. And
You know.
they sign up for that shit.
Yeah.
Like you cut my car in half, like, that's all right, I'll buy another Lamborghini.
Yeah.
Like, fine. But
I think there were some fun pranks, and I love pranks back in the day. I think Brant and I would actually like create videos and pranks. We were trying to be maybe not the next jackass, but make some fun videos that we can look back on and watch. I don't know if he still has them or not, but yeah, I think one of the times I feel like it was Chad or somebody else in there that took like feta cheese and like put it underneath someone's car, like underneath the seat of the car. And
that's
you
kinda
know
messed
how
up.
feta cheese smells
That's-
a little bit.
especially after a day or two.
Oh yeah, hot sun, feta cheese in your car. So we had some good times, but that was like a lifetime ago. I would say. I think
It
that was probably
does.
20 some years. So yeah,
No, not 20 some. We're not that old.
it was 20. I think it was like 19 then.
Approaching 20.
Yeah, I'm 30. I'm 30.
Approaching 20 years.
Full transparency. I'm 38 now, and I think I was 20 then. So yeah, 18 years, 19 years. So
Yeah.
maybe I was 19. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
Give yourself a little grace.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I'm not worried. I'm still here. I'm still on this side of the earth, so I'm pretty happy about that. So
Yeah, no, that was I had a lot of fun there. That was
yeah.
it was fun, but I don't need to be covered in anything or like pranked in that sort of manner. That's not, I don't find that.
Gotcha.
Or like out in public. Like don't fuck with me out in
Public
public.
display.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're a little too, maybe old.
No, I've always been
You
like
know,
that. Like,
over-
don't fuck
over
with me in
that.
public. Like, 'cause
Yeah.
you might get an elbow to the face on accident.
Sure. Yeah.
It's just involuntary. Or touch my armpits. That's
Man,
I
we're
don't.
putting some weaknesses out there, or
Yeah,
like some
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
people
No.
are going to be in public, like, hey, Fred, how's your armpits doing? Like,
You're gonna
watch
get fucked
the,
up. You're gonna get fucked up. I told my wife for the first probably probably 7 years that we were together. Like, don't stick your fucking fingers in my armpits. Do not. I said because you're gonna fucking hurt.
Pull
yourself.
that phobia thing back up real quick.
No,
Let's see if we can find an armpit
Well,
phobia.
no, that was not a phobia. I don't mind. Like, I don't mind her. I don't necessarily mind her touching my armpits, but it's just a reaction.
You make
Okay.
me sound like I have this fetish.
I mean, you can.
like
Babe,
an armpit fetish.
you
I
wanna-
don't-
Do you wanna
I can't
fuck my
stand up for
armpits?
like 15 minutes after you touch my armpit.
Yeah, okay, you can.
No, I just
You want to scissor my armpits?
now that you mention it.
This took a turn. What's on the sheet there?
Now that
No,
we're
we
talking
have
about
talked about
scissoring.
like niche OnlyFans. I feel like
Oh,
that would
that's I've
Feet pics.
never heard of
The
that.
axillary section.
Scissoring armpits,
or toes
maybe.
in your armpit.
I-
Anyway.
That's
I think there's a market for everything. So,
Oh,
We
we
got a-
could
that's
have
right, we got a
Joe
marketing
help us with
guy here.
marketing.
listen,
Oh.
listen. People have asked me a little bit to run their OnlyFans and do the marketing for it.
Is that an awkward request or
I don't think it's awkward. It's like
what kind of
looks
OnlyFans?
like there's looks
are
like
we
there's a
talking
lot of
about?
money in it. It's nudes. It's
Okay,
nudes
so they're
and probably
just-
pornography essentially.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
But it's like
I'm not sure if you got some really
I
interesting.
don't
ones.
think my wife would approve.
Mm,
So,
yeah,
you
I
know,
can see that.
but what if we split the money, honey? You know, like it was like still
It's a
no.
team effort.
I have to be there at every shoot. You know, like but so no, I don't think I would take that on, even though it's like probably highly profitable. And that's probably why there's 87,000 IRS agents being hired. All these OnlyFans, these Venmos, these, a lot of this stuff is probably like, oh, they pay me $7.99 a month, and that kind of goes undetected. So I wonder if that's a part of it.
I can't help but think that that's not a part of it. Cause I know so if you like the actual, like I know the numbers and people, you can say like, well, this is over, was it like a 5-year period, 10-year period or whatever, they're going to hire 87,000 IRS agents. And well, half the IRS agents we have now are going to retire in the next 5 years. So we need to refill those positions. Great. But we only have it's like 30,000 or something like that right now. So if we have 30,000, half of them are going to retire in the next 5 years. That seems like an awfully high percentage too. Mm-hmm. But I can't imagine anybody working for the IRS as an audit agent that's not like some 60-year-old dude that just doesn't take care of himself. No offense.
They have to be the worst.
I just have to look at it and be like, you have to be the worst. Like to be you're an auditing accountant. Oh, I'm sorry. I know some really nice accountants. So I don't want to talk shit about accountants. Oh yeah. But you're probably boring as fuck. Sorry. But okay. So 30,000, half of that's 15,000. Well, then we're going to hire 87,000 in the next, 10 years? So that we've almost tripled the amount of agents.
Yeah.
Working for the IRS. So are they really going to go after the people that keep the government afloat? Cause they're government agents, right? So all these kickbacks and are they really going to go after the billionaires? Are they? Because that's historically not true. Just historically and factually. That's not how it happens.
I've been out to a lot of restaurants in the last 2 years. I never stopped going out and doing things and, enjoying life. And since the pandemic, you go into restaurants and I feel like every door has a sign that says hiring, and every, it's like the waitress or the bartender comes up to you like, sorry, we're short staffed tonight. We're trying to everywhere you go to. Yeah. It doesn't matter where.
It's been like that for
I've always
9 months.
Yeah. I've always kind of wondered where are these people going? What are they doing? And I never realized it was the IRS. All these servers and bartenders, they're actually, they're being agents now. They're being converted over.
And they probably also have an OnlyFans.
Yeah. OnlyFans. Yeah. Yep.
They're also armed and dangerous.
So, all jokes aside, I think going back to my point, it's man, if we can't hire anybody for the service industry right now, they think they're really going to hire 87,000 people for the IRS. And
they're probably going to pay them.
Well, when you look at this, what you have to do, it's you must work no less than 50 hours a week.
Right.
You must be able to be physically fit and,
really
be combat fit. It's man, where are all these? And then you, I guess, have a lot of people that don't like taxes, and they think it's theft, and they just they don't want to do that to other people.
I don't think that one's a good supporting one for that.
It might not be. No. I'm sure there's people out there that will fit the bill, but I think it's going to
off the group here.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a long time to actually fulfill that kind of ask of 87,000 people. I think it's going to be years of training before that's actually applied to. I think they're going to get in there, then they're going to have years of training to be able to be an agent. Or we're just going to be willy-nilly, and it's just going to be a lot of untrained people being Gestapos, So whichever it is, it's probably not for the best of the American society.
Well, that's for sure. So. And I just had a short interaction just recently with a police officer, and a lot of people would say that about some of our officers across the nation. I said, he was an officer. We were having a discussion. It was I don't know if you saw the video. It was, I think it was in Georgia, maybe. He was, this not quite elderly, older, black man. And somebody had called the police on him because he was at this person's house that wasn't his. And so the video starts where these police officers walk up hey, what are you doing here? And he's like, well, he was watering flowers. I don't know if you saw that video. He's like, oh, I'm watering these flowers. Oh yeah, you did. Yeah, because But this guy, he's out there watering flowers, and well, can you give us your name? He's like, well no, what? He's like, this is my neighbor's house. They're away. I'm taking, watering their flowers for them.
Well, he said that he was
And
the
then
Reverend across the road.
he did. Eventually, he was like,
Yeah.
my name's Reverend so and so. I live right across the road.
Right.
And they're like, well, can we have some ID? And he's like, yeah, no, like, no, I'm not kidding. Like, no.
Right.
And they kept going on. And eventually, the cops started screaming at him like, you need to cooperate. This. He's like, no, man, I'm not going to cooperate. Like, why? There's no reason that you just roll up on me. I'm taking care of my neighbor's flowers like they asked me to. Like, I told you, like, that's my house right there. Like, go look it up. You know, like, you're the police. And like, he's like, who called in on me? And the guy was like, and the cop was like, well, I don't know who called in, but you need to show us some ID. He's like, no, I don't. And he's like, well, if we don't do that, we're going to have to take you in and this, that. He's like, well, fine. Like, arrest me. Do what you got to do. And they ended up arresting him. And then literally, I love the clip that they had because they must have gotten all the police footage. Because at the end of it, they were talking to some other lady and, they were like, hey, do you know who this is? And she was like, yeah, well, that's Pastor or Reverend so-and-so. He lives right there. Like, he takes care of like these people's house all the time. Like, they're friends. Like, so that's not out of character at all. And it's like, what are we doing here? Like, what, in any regard, like whether it be a police officer or an IRS agent or a government official, like particularly those people are supposed to be serving their communities, right? Like that's what the government is. Like, it's supposed to be serving the people. And when you have those people that don't, it's like, what are we doing here, folks? We've lost the entire idea of what this nation's supposed to be, right? A democracy. Like, in all these things, even though it's technically not a democracy, everyone likes to say it is, but like, it's cute.
It's a republic.
Yeah, it's a constitutional republic. I love that too. It's like, this threatens our democracy. Well, guess what? This isn't a democracy.
No. What's a democracy typically turn into? It's like something that's not good, socialistic or. So yeah, it is a republic, and I'm not defending the police officer at all. And I think we've entered this state where, like, you don't have a right to come up on this private property and ask me for ID and do all this. But I think there's been a lot of profiling that goes on in some of these neighborhoods. It's like, we see a lot of crime, we see a lot of this, so we almost are kind of, in a way, prone to need to like ask people this because we see it so much.
Right.
So I don't know what kind of neighborhood it was, but I don't think it's right either way. I don't think it's right.
Well, like you said, it's a whole situation of let's look at what's going on, and instead of using our past, you have to use our past experiences, which obviously police officers have to do, to figure out what's going on in the situation and kind of where do you go next. But the guy's standing there watering flowers.
Yeah.
Like in certain situations as a police officer, you go, hey, we got a call. What are you doing? And the dude tells you, I'm so-and-so from across the street. They could go, all right, well, if that's your house, hey, radio in who lives at this address. What? And like they have that capability.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's like, all right, well, who lives at this address? Is there any way we can contact the homeowner? Just to make sure, hey, we're just trying to make sure that the homeowner knows you're here and this, that, whatever. Like, they have those abilities. Hell, even as at this point in time with technology, as a citizen, I could probably, if give me a little bit, I could probably find anybody's phone number if you give me an address. You can get online.
If you give you a name and you had an address, the auditor site shows it.
Right. Like most states and counties have auditor websites. You can literally look up anybody. If you know the address or if you know their name, a little bit of Googling, you can figure it out. So like a police officer should be able to go, okay, this is this person's house. Can we contact them? And that's it. Oh, hey, sorry to bother you. Keep on watering your neighbor's flowers. Appreciate what you're doing. Instead they arrested some dude and then the neighbor was like, oh yeah, they're friends. Like, what?
I mean, imagine the ploy. It's like, I'm about to rob the place. Please come. Pick up a garden hose and just start spraying things. Like, no, I got this. Like, come on.
Yeah, I get it. Maybe in
some Home Alone shit. So.
Yeah. So I guess that's the point. Is like the individual. We've gone so far to look at people, regardless of what they are, as the other, or that group, or this group, instead of boiling everything down as much as we can in the moment to the situation of this. This is a person sitting across from me. This is a person that I'm talking to that has family and friends and has lived a life up into however old they are, and judging them by what they're doing at this point in time and the interaction that you get, instead of, well, I saw this thing, so that means you probably think this, or you probably believe in this, or you probably voted for this guy.
Mm-hmm.
So that means you're probably a crappy person. So that means I should probably talk shit to you, or whatever it is, or
right.
Judge you this way or the other. It's like,
yeah, we got to get out of this groupthink mentality. I mean, I think it's useful to a degree, but like when we're talking person to person, a lot of the stuff that I'll post on Facebook, it's like, oh, he's a Republican. I'm like, I'm not a Republican, man. Like, I don't know how you think that. If anything, I'm probably more of a centrist, or right in the middle a little bit on most things, like I kind of lean both sides.
I've said it before. I think I'm a closet libertarian.
100%. Yeah, I think I'm libertarian as well. But, these are all groups that they want to put you in, and it's just like they don't always apply. Like, I don't have all the attributes of a Republican. I don't have all the attributes of a libertarian. I have some Democrat in me as well,
I like pick a la carte.
Yeah.
I like this. I like that. Like, let me be whatever I want to eat.
That's right. If we got to create a new, group for what I am, like, let's do it, but that's going to be hard to do. So,
yeah. Well, the system set up, not fantastic. Sure.
It's set up for divisiveness, but we're tribal beings. So I think.
Do you think it's set up that way, though? Do you think it's like intentionally set up for divisiveness, or do you think that's just how it's grown to become?
Maybe it wasn't set up at first to be divisiveness, but it sure's grown into that. That's one hard thing to figure out. I would hope not, at least. I would hope that, our government at, the early stages wouldn't set up something that's like, hey, we know that you like guns, and we know that you like genders. Like, let's draw a line in the sand. So,
I guess more to clarify that, do you think it's the intentional direction that these groups are trying to get to now, or is it just that's how we've become because we are tribalistic as just human beings?
I think both a little bit. Yeah, I think we become that because we are tribalistic, but we're always using it to our advantage politically now. And I think, I think the people up top, I think we deal with both sides, but both sides have a trajectory of authoritarianism, if I can speak authoritarianism. So no matter what or who's in charge, I still feel like we're marching that way, to big government, to, it's the same agenda, essentially, no matter who you put in charge, if it's Republican or Democrat. Yeah. I don't know if we can look and, when there's a Republican in office, do we see, formulations of less gun laws or less anything like that? I just see more government, and no matter who's in charge. And I think we should, at this point, with the loss of trust with everything and the way they handled the pandemic, the way they handle money, not like a business. If I was a business and I was the government, how would you handle money like this? You would be in the red all the time.
You're the government, so you can print more, right?
You'd bankrupt yourself. The whole, like, how do you, you think about it as like a business perspective. It's like, we don't know when we're in the red, we're in a recession, we don't spend more money. We save, and they're not doing that. So that right there tells me, no. I don't trust what you do. There's not a lot of transparency. There's not a lot of representation. So where are we heading? Are we heading to somewhere that most of the population don't want? And I think we are, but as long as they keep us stuck on a lot of these social issues, stuff like that, it doesn't matter. They're going to move their agenda forward. Whether we believe the whole 2030 agenda or the Great Reset, if we want to believe that or not, it kind of seems like we're moving that way, with all the climate change stuff and all the, I guess the tech oligarchy. So yeah, it's frustrating, and it's hard to just sit there and watch. I don't have kids right now, but if I had kids, would I be more vocal? I don't know. Maybe I would stay off the radar. Maybe I wouldn't talk about it as much. Or maybe I should talk about it more because I have kids and I don't want my kids to go through worse times or have less opportunity than I had. So
Do you think it makes a difference if for the human population, if you do or don't have kids, and then
not for the human population. No.
Well,
No.
I mean, for you standing up and just kind of being more vocal, because I think there is it's hard because there is kind of that line of how vocal do you want to get, right? Because it's like we don't want to self silence or self regulate your own speech, but we all do that to an extent, right? Regardless of what it is in any type of fashion, like most people, like if you like using curse words like myself, like, do you do that around your parents? Do you do it at the grocery store? You start like you're checking out your groceries and they're like, all right, that's it. Like, have a good day. Like, hey, you have a great fucking day too. Like, no, I don't do that. Like, I think that'd be fun. Yeah. But like, I don't do that because like, just there's a little bit of self-regulation in any type of society we have. Right. Sure. But how much are we, and maybe this ties to it too, that a lot of people, there's a good portion of people that don't think about it at all. Right. I just want to go do what I want to do. I just, whatever it is, I don't want to think about, we've talked about this a lot. Like, I don't want to think about politics. I don't want to think about this. I don't want all those things. I don't care. I get it because I've been there. But at the same time, like, if you're upset at all, or if you have any concerns about anything that has to deal with our society and our civilization here in America, like, then you should be slightly concerned and slightly informed on what's going on. If you're going to bitch about the gas prices, or you should probably understand why they are what they are, or any type of, any of those things. So like, or if you're going to bitch about the president, well, did you vote? Like, I know there's a lot of vote, like electoral college, all those things, like your vote doesn't count because this, but did you participate in the experiment? That's one thing. Like, that's why this is the first time, the last election was the first time I voted since I was 18, because it was like, all right, like, did I participate in this thing? Or if I'm going to complain about something, or if I'm going to worry about it, like, did I try to do my part in this? Like, are you doing these things? Are you trying to understand what affects your daily life? Because if you're moving through your life and you don't think anything affects you, because a lot of people think that, but then they go to Lowe's to build the deck and they're like, Jesus, why is this lumber so expensive? Well, there's things that are affecting that maybe you should consider these. Like, I wonder how much of that is we've gotten so comfortable, or I don't know exactly what it is, or like life was just so good for the since what, I don't know, 70s, 60s, and 70s were a little wild, but for the most part, we've been fairly well off comparatively. So like, is it our turn? Is it America's turn for its downfall after only a few hundred years?
Let's hope not.
Yeah. But historically speaking, that's probably I wonder what the average like nation has survived, like how long their structure, because we have the back of this door, we have a giant histomap that has like the last, was it 6,000 or 4,000 years of civilization, and it shows like the power and how much like each civilization had like power per that time.
Yeah.
And it covers the entire door, but like the last like 2 inches of it, you can see the United States, and it's like this big. But there's just a giant thing, like the Romans and the Greeks, and China's all this little sliver all the way down. They're the only culture that's made it all the way through. It's like every civilization and every culture that's ever had any type of real influence is gone. So do we think we're really that special? Like,
I kind of do. I mean, I think we're the first. So. I think we're the first of our kind, and I think might be the last of our kind too.
That's a scary thought.
Our country is kind of based off rebellion a little bit. We're based off of, no, fuck you, redcoats. No, we ain't doing this. We don't want your tyranny. And I think we're slowly stopping that. We're like, no. We need safety. We need safety over liberty. And that's where it's just like, really? Like you don't want to hear people say, no, misinformation is dangerous. Why is it dangerous? Well, because you hurt people's feelings. And maybe my uncle, instead of getting the vaccine, he listened to Joe Rogan or something. And now he didn't get the vaccine, he died. Well, how old was your uncle? Oh, he was 70. Was he obese? Yeah. Well, maybe it wasn't Joe Rogan that killed him. Maybe it was just his free thinking and that's the way he wanted to live. So should we stop that? I don't think so. Right. So, I mean, it's I think it's really hard to say we should censor things or we should stop people's voices. I think voice is what brought us here. I think there's a lot of things that brought us where we're at now, innovation. And, I think two of those, and I don't want to segue right away, but I think two of those was obviously gas and the other was meat. I think those were two primary reasons to why we got where we're at right now. So, and we can kind of get into like a little bit of health and fitness and stuff. And
we can get it wherever you want to.
I've been doing a lot of the I was doing keto for like 3 years, and then like the last 6 months I've been doing carnivore essentially. Carnivore kind of mixed in with a couple different things. Kind of mixed in with fruits and, but I don't really mess with the veggies anymore or anything like that. So it's like, I think my wife can appreciate, we have like steak like 3 nights a week, 4 nights a week now, and we do like, a lot of ground beef and burger and stuff like that. And,
what time do you guys usually eat dinner?
coming over. But just I don't know. I feel a lot better now that I'm doing that versus like, going to Chipotle every day and like really spiking my insulin and putting that much carbohydrates in me.
Well, it's also
and then
like
having
1,500 calories in one shot, bro.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. And so I've had some, I think all this has been a journey. And I think it started at like health. I think I had some health issues back in like 2009 that have never truly like went away. And I think that's kind of where it started my journey down like supplements and diet and just being kind of leery on news and propaganda and stuff comes out. And you're like, wait a minute, like you're telling me I need to eat all that. I'm going to be healthy and I need to eat three times a day. And so once you start dismantling that, you're like, okay, I feel like I was kind of lied to. Maybe we should eat less. Maybe I should eat, fast for 18 hours and then only eat 6 hours, and I think that's kind of what started me down the journey of being more, I don't know, questionable on everything that's coming out.
Because I was going to ask you about that. Like, so we started this conversation out with, one of the big pieces that really stood out to me is that questioning attitude, right? And it was respectful. It wasn't, there's a lot of people that will talk shit about whatever they talk shit about, but, you're one of the few people that I've seen, and it's become one of as hard as and difficult it is to do. It's kind of become one of my favorite things to do is when I'm proven wrong, especially on social media. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. You got me there. And usually people are like, they don't know what to say, but you could go back and forth with somebody all day long. But as soon as you go, yeah, you know what? Yeah, you got me there. I was wrong. And they're just like, like they don't have anything to say whatsoever. So what gave you, and I see you not always, you do a good job at bringing your point across and, seemingly arguing for what you believe in. But I've seen you before also just kind of like, yeah, I'll know how to think about that. Like, that's a good point. What brought you to the point of wanting to talk about things in a public space like that and be a little more open and honest than most people are and be like having that receivingness of, I don't think that's a word. Right.
Oh, it's a word tonight. It's a word tonight.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Just made it up. We're making up all new terms this year anyhow. So
I appreciate
that's one of them.
That. Why not? Right. So what brought you, like, what do you think kind of got you to the point of being a human being that's like, kind of like, this is what I believe, I'm trying to articulate, these thoughts that I have, but also if you bring something to me, I'm going to go, oh, okay, maybe that's a good thought. I'll get back to you,
Mm-hmm.
Kind of one of what brought you to that? What do you think kind of got you there?
I think that's a tough question. I don't know what elements have brought me to there. I think just trying to be a good person and listening to someone else's opinion or bringing new facts to the table that maybe I didn't know. It's just like, yeah, you might be right. Shit. It's just kind of being humble a little bit. And I think there's so much data out there and there's so much that kind of gets pressed to us. And then we look at it, we're like, oh, I'm going to draw my conclusion. And a lot of times it's like, maybe I just drawed my conclusion because you know how you can Google something now and you can kind of like assert your own bias. I mean, we can do that every time. It's like, I want to prove somebody wrong. I'm going to Google it. Nope, those aren't the articles I want. Let's look for my article that proves me right. And there's so much out there. And honestly, I try to go as much like data sites as possible. If I'm in some kind of like back and forth with somebody, like, okay, let's look directly at the data. And let's, try to read it and try to understand it and articulate it. And a lot of times, I am proven wrong, and which is great. And then I learn and grow, and I'm like, hey, man, high five, you got it. And, there's been a couple conversations with, there's a couple people online that are like, I'm going to call regulars almost, regular
top fans.
Yeah, top fan, regular combatants. And I won't say any names, but, I love them. I think they're great people. I think we all have political differences, but that doesn't make me not like them. I think, one of them is in a band, and I've liked him, and I've actually hired him a bunch of times, and he might be listening to this next week and be like, yeah, that's me. I have great respect for him. And a lot of times, we'll go back and forth about things. And there was one thing that we were going back and forth, and it's probably, I don't really want to mention it, but it's probably the gold standard of conspiracy theories, and it might be coming up soon. So we were going back and forth.
Well, now you got me interested.
Yeah, we were going back and
You're
forth.
You're going to tell me the topic?
And I was like,
oh, come on.
I was questioning it, and I was like, well, what about that building? What do you think about that? And he was like, dude, it's no way. And he sent me this study, and it was like the study out of Alaska that spent probably like, I don't know, 330 million on the study or something, like a lot of money. And he sent it to me. And then I read it a little bit, and then all of a sudden we figured out it was a study in my favor. And he's like, fuck, I messed up, man. I'm sorry.
I messed up. I gave you the wrong information.
And he kept backpedaling. He's like, I'm out. I'm like, dude, it's cool. Like, I'm not mad. Like,
I'm not mad you proved me wrong.
I'm like,
you proved me right.
I'm not, whatever. No big deal. No, in hindsight, I'm just like, whatever, man. Like, I'm not here to be like gotcha every time.
Right.
I'm here to try to like find some common ground with us and like figure out things together. And it's really us, it's us against them. This big thing that's happening right now with, so that's really my cause, is like, let's slow them down a little bit. They've been having a lot of fun with seeming tyrannical and all their money and how they dish out money without us, giving a shit. Because I feel like they got us a little bit of sleep. They have us a little indoctrinated. It's like, so we can send all this money out of the country and nobody cares? Like, no, we don't want to take care of our own cities and our own borders. And, so that's my beef. And hopefully someday we could all come together as a people and be like, no, stop. We're in charge. We essentially own you guys, and it's the other way around. So will that ever happen? I'm optimistic, but we'll see.
I wonder how much. I think it might take something that's really big, because it's just the real 50,000 foot view is when you look at tying kind of a lot of those things together. Is America is the last nation that has the amount of, I'm gonna word it properly, ability for its citizens to have as much power as they do, whether that be politically or physically, maybe both ways. But when you start, this one of the biggest educations I've gotten in the last few years is understanding different countries, how they work, how their governments work, how all of those different things. And I've gotten very, minimal understanding of it. But, we've had, a guy on that's kind of discussed how, like, he's like he's weird how much he really loves like China and geopolitics, and he understands that whole culture. And so like understanding how all these different groups of people that just call themselves countries work and with their governments that they've set up, like how they like America really is really, really different in many ways. The way they operate and, you know, the physical capability of a country to defend itself, regardless of the government and its military. So, you know, you could decode that puzzle, but it's funny you talk about being. I look at it as curiosity, like learning something. You talked about, you know, hey, I was proven wrong. Like, good for you, high five. Or, hey, you just looked up on you sent me an article that actually proved me right. Hey, that's okay too. Like maybe you can learn something. But like I think it's a joy that a lot of people don't find when they're proven wrong. It's hard, but when you learn something, like that's so incredibly satisfying. So you go, okay, now I'm more educated and I know more about this thing than I thought I did. That should be a cool thing, right? Like especially if it's facts, if it's data that is just, you know, as facts can be. But being able to learn something and walk away from a situation going, oh, I learned something I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that should make you feel better, even if you're wrong. Like it's hard to swallow that pill, but guess what? We're all wrong occasionally. You know, I've done it once or twice, at least, maybe.
I'm not looking at you. I'm looking at your wife.
Yeah.
I was
Comic
waiting
relief.
for the face.
Fine. It's happened 3 or 4 times. Okay. But like to be able to go, like to be able to grow from that, like there's nothing better, at least in my mind, of growing.
Yeah.
Right. Like, why would I want to be, do I really want to be to think I'm from the time I was 20 years old, now I still have the exact same knowledge and I'm just as smart as I was then and just as right as I was then. Like, stop it. Like, we should be growing and learning. And even if that still puts you down the same path, like why it seems a lot of people are, they're afraid of new things. And I get that, but they're afraid of being wrong. And I understand that too, because, you know, pride, that hurts. But if you can understand that, if you can get past both of those things and you can learn new things and put pride aside, because why do I have to be, why does it affect my pride if I was wrong about something, or if I just didn't know something? Like if I just didn't know it, I didn't know it. And you just helped teach me something. Why can't we both celebrate that and be like, oh, okay, I guess I'll move forward and be more knowledgeable from here on out. And that feels good.
Yeah. I kind of wonder what the characteristics are that people that just can't live up to that. Like they can't take oh, I got you. And they combat it and they're just like, no. You know, is there something there with doing hard things every day? You know, like every day you wake up, you kind of do hard things. You get used to loss. You get used to failure. You get used to a lot of this stuff. And you're just like, yeah, I failed, whatever. I'm moving on. I learned from it. I can take from it. And now I move on. You know, I wonder if like some people, they just don't have that capacity. They don't normally have that much loss in their life. They're just like, everything's rainbows and butterflies for a long time. And then when they do have a gotcha moment, or somebody does, you know, they're like, no, I can't accept that. I won't accept it. And so I kind of wonder what capacity or what elements they have inside their body that just like won't let them express those feelings. Like, yeah, it's cool, man. Like you might've got me there. No big deal. So, you know, it kind of goes back to, you know, I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty satisfied with my life. And, you know, I've tried to do hard things. I think coming here was kind of a hard thing, you know, like leading up to it, like thinking, okay, make sure I articulate things the right way. I want to thoroughly talk. I don't want to be misread when people watch this, you know, like, how am I looking on camera? You know, like there's a lot of like, you know, different things that I think about. It's like, it kind of nerve wracks me at the same time. It's like, no, it's necessary. You need to go on there. You need to do this. You need to, you know, stand up and, you know, man up to it. even though it's just being on a podcast, I overthink things and stuff like that. And it's just part of my life. It's just like, I have a happy home. I have a happy life. I do a lot of fun things. I think one of the reasons it's not on a Saturday, because my Saturdays are like always booked every week. So it's like, this is why we're here Friday. So, I'm not sure exactly where I was going with that. I'm just saying, like, I hope if people are combative against a lot of these new ideas, or they're combative against getting proven wrong, that they start doing hard things that, like, oh, okay, this wasn't so bad. Losing this little Facebook argument, maybe I was wrong, wasn't so bad. So, maybe that's the start of it. Or
do you have an answer for that one? What do you think maybe not brought you to that point, but what do you think allowed you to see that doing those hard things and accepting that you're going to be wrong, you're going to fail, this, that, whatever, but you can gain benefit from that? Because it sounds like that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea of how you came across that and how you...
100%. Yeah, I think it was health. I was going down through like a health, we won't say crisis, but it was crappy. There was some, I won't want to say like neurological, but it was more like your, I guess it might be neurological, essentially, like your motor symptoms and stuff. Like I had shakes a little bit, and I didn't realize where they were coming from. So like this was back in like 2009, and I ended up having like a panic attack at work. And it was like after a big party the night before, where we're like Halloween and drinking a bunch and stuff like that. So after that, it's like, am I dying? What's going on? I need to go to the doctor. The doctor can't figure anything out. So then I started taking like medication and stuff, and medication wasn't helping. And so like, okay, what do I have to do for myself? Well, I need to change my diet. That's hard. I need to start working out more. That's hard. How can I fix myself? Because I don't want to die at an early age. I don't want to be left with this my whole life if it's serious or not, and they can't figure it out. So like, I think all of that combined is like, okay, I have to do this, and this sucks, and this is hard. And then that kind of led into other hard things like to do. And I think, like I was mentioning before, like carnivore diet, that's not easy. When you get on it, you're like, man, I crave carbs right now. I want rice. I want pasta. I want all this shit food like pizza and stuff. And you shouldn't have it, I know that doing this helps my health. And even though it kind of sucks at the moment, I'm going to do it anyhow. And whether that has like opened up a different chapter in my life of like doing other things that have been hard, and then realizing like, hey, I'm cool with it. If I'm proven wrong, whatever, like we're not here that long. And considering like, I think everyone thinks we live to 100. It's like, oh, 50 is halfway. I don't think so. I think maybe like 75 is about, where most people die. 75, 80.
Didn't that just lower the life expectancy in the United States for the first time in like 20 years?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think it was like 1.8 years or something just last year. So, yeah, just understanding that and just realizing like, hey, we're not here for a long time. Like, make sure you love a lot. Make sure you forgive a lot. And if people want to come at you and like, let's just be rational. Do feelings and our tribal traits kind of take over sometimes on these conversations that we have online, and we're like, I'm going to get you. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's just so easy when you're on your phone. You're just like, fuck this guy. You're like, I got you. And it's like, I probably shouldn't have done
But then
that.
I realized I backpedal. I'm like, all right, like maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe, so I've been trying to kind of stay away from it a little bit more and just realize like who my audience is. And my audience at one point in time is all my friends, or we at least acquaintances, right? And there's a lot of like high level acquaintances on there that I don't want to tarnish the relationship with all this bullshit and nonsense and political noise, so to speak. So yeah. But, there'll be another issue soon, and I'm sure I'll throw my 2 cents in, and I hope other people throw their 2 cents in a professional manner and have a good dialogue. And that's really it,
Yeah, I think that's what it's about too. It's you can be on one side or the other of an issue, and most people are there. It's either at least the divisive issues. Not everyone's gonna sit right in the middle. most people they won't, but it's how you present it, right? And how you here's some things to think about. If that's the way I look at a lot of these conversations that happen, especially the hot button ones. It's everybody's. It seems like most people are they're just kind of like waving their flag for something instead of going, okay, how do I get my point across to people? If I think, I believe this thing and there's this other group of people that completely disagree with me. Well, okay, instead of just spouting my opinion and not even trying to be confrontational, but be kind of like, oh, I'm morally superior to you because I believe this and you believe that. Well, okay, if you dislike somebody because they believe something that's opposed to you, I'm not sure really what to tell you, but if you think, well, this is what I believe, and I think this is a better way, or I think this is the right way to think about this thing, well, then why wouldn't you try to convince others? And by being negative and being like throwing shit at somebody, like you're not going to convince them that the way you perceive this subject is the right way to look at it. Like, who's going to like willingly like walk towards somebody and believe what they believe when they're just getting shit on by that person? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So why all this negative, just crap talking and trying to, that gotcha, right? Mm-hmm. Like, why I don't want to try to get somebody. I want to try to unlock that wall that's disallowing them to see this from a different perspective, right? Like, and there's no benefit in just talking shit to somebody. I mean, that can be fun. Sometimes it is fun. Mm-hmm. But I'd like to save that for my friends, because it's a lot more fun to talk shit to my friends than strangers, because strangers are going to get upset, and my friends might get upset, but they'll be like, okay, I get it. Ha ha ha. Like, it's a lot more fun when they understand that I'm just joking with them. But like, if I'm in an argument with somebody, like a legit argument with somebody about a topic, then why would I want to be negative to that and like mean to that person? Like, that's not going to, just makes me look like a jerk.
Yeah. So
like, why not like, all right, well, here's my thoughts. Here's these things, like, and not a lot of people want to, thoroughly hash out a response, but if they do, okay, now you're giving me something to work with, and maybe you might change my mind. And that's powerful too, is having your mind changed on something. If I'm not saying it has to happen all the time, like, you gotta have to have your beliefs, but man, if you don't have that door cracked and allow somebody to be able to change your mind with the right, right stats or data or whatever it might be.
I think that when Joe said like he's humble, and so that allows him to be like, accept that he's wrong. And he mentioned that like he's happy with his life, right? So then that made me think about you. When I knew you 16 years ago, you were not nearly as receptive to being wrong as you were. But you also
I was always right.
Weren't super happy with life and your circumstances. Right. I think, and then he mentioned like what the capacity that people have. So people are happy with their life being proven wrong. Okay, like they still have all this shit going for them, right? But if they didn't have parents that were like, hey, guess what? It's okay to be wrong. And they're carrying this shame because of X, Y, and Z. It's really difficult to hear you're wrong and accept that when you don't have good things going for you, or you're not humble, or you haven't learned that. Like, you have learned that. And so
painfully,
it's weird to see you get excited if someone can prove that you're wrong, especially when it's me.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things.
It is, and it's so weird, and it
takes a lot to get there.
Yeah, and I try really hard sometimes, really hard. But you used to be terrible at that, to where I'm like, I'm not even engaging in this with you. Yeah. But you also have, like, you've learned that, and imagine if you hadn't learned that.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Well,
so like, there's that progression, and all these things have to change, and it just was weird that he like brought up being humble, and he mentioned like what capacity do people have to be able to accept these things, and I don't think a lot of people are like given the right, not I don't want to say the right upbringing for that, but
tools and
yeah, to like be able to be told you're wrong, because everybody gets a trophy.
Right.
Everybody's a winner.
Well,
until you are in the world and you get knocked on your ass.
Yeah.
And then what do you do?
And you're consistently losing.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of maybe think of it as you were saying that. Like, it's a lot like, if you're not making a lot of money, you just got fired, your bills are a month behind, you don't know where your next paycheck or meal is coming from. I can relate to that. I've been there. And then someone tells you, well, nothing makes you happier than giving to somebody else. Like, bitch, I ain't got nothing to give. Yeah. Well, you want me to do, but like you do, like we always have something that we can do that we don't think we can. Like there's, and obviously those two things are different, but at the same time, that's kind of the same thing where as corny as it sounds, and people will say it, like, well, the more you give, like the happier you'll be. Like, the more money you have, like that doesn't always equate to happiness. No. Same thing is like the more right you are, that doesn't equate to happiness.
No.
So it's finding those things along the way that like it's hard. They're hard lessons to learn, and maybe you are always right.
I mean, you might get addicted to it though. You might get addicted. You're right so many times. Oh, that feels good. This feels good.
Yeah.
So it's like a dopamine hit. You get addicted to this dopamine hit every time.
It's fun being right.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
It's a, and I feels weird saying it, but like it's a fun progression to be okay with being wrong, because I've realized like, all right, what do I get out of this? Like when you assess the whole situation, it's like, okay, now I learned something. As long as you learn something from it, awesome. Like it still sucks when you screw something up or whatever it is, but if you can bring something away from it, like you can't change what happened. So if you can bring some positive, some silver linings or whatever you want to call it along on the ride, well, then I'm better off than I was before. It's a lot like, we've talked about before, Tony. It's that, was it beating? I can't remember exactly how you call it, but like being better than you were. And like, every single day, if you can just try to just do it, just a tiny little bit better. And it's like, all right, am I a better person than I was yesterday? Am I better at this skill than I was yesterday? Yeah, maybe not. But if I attempt to do better every day, where am I at a week, 2 weeks, a month, a year? Like inevitably, if I try to do better every day, I mean, you got to have at least more good days than bad.
Yeah.
I would hope.
It reminds me of like when I was a kid and, Christmas rolls around and, you get all these gifts and stuff. And then like, even when you're in your teens and early 20s, it's like, yeah, it's so nice getting all these gifts. And then you kind of realize like, it feels better to give people gifts and see their reaction and see the love. It's like, I can't, like with me, like I'll buy Christmas gifts and I can't keep it a secret. Like it's too much. Like it's like 2 days before Christmas. Like, so you want to open some stuff? Like let's get this over with. Like I can't keep it a secret. So, it just kind of reminds me of like these crawls that I mentioned I do, like these taco crawls and stuff. And like, I know that, like everyone is coming from outside of town and Ashland and Maslin. And, we even had people from like Texas and stuff. It's crazy. There's like, 450 people. And then you kind of like ask them like, what do you think? Are you having a good time? And they're like, yeah, it's amazing. Like, I think, putting in all that work, that's kind of where you get the gratification from it. Right. You go out, you make a living, you bust your ass, whatever you're doing, and then you manage to make money or do something, and then you take that money and you apply it to something and give it to somebody and then see their reaction. I think that's worth a lot of times more than, receiving a gift. So,
yeah, it's that there's like a collective, I don't even know what to call it. It's like universal chi. Or what, probably doesn't make sense, whatever it is. But it's neat doing, because I haven't done a lot of those, like, like there's a lot of people that like just volunteer and get out there and help the public and doing things. But like, it is like, there's something special about being able to sit there and not in the limelight, but knowing that you helped put on something. this summer we helped with Flex Worcester, or the yoga place downtown. They put on this big yoga fest, farm fest.
Okay, yeah.
And it was like just and I offered my help with whatever I can, audio equipment and whatnot. But it was just super neat to sit back and just watch this whole thing happen. And be like, you know what, like I'm not like a huge part of this.
Yeah.
But like, hey, like I'm helping somebody out. And nobody knew who I was. Mass people didn't know who I was, all this thing. And just like sitting there like, oh, like I'm helping to do this. Like something much bigger than I ever was. Like, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And like, and until you've experienced that, it's like, it's hard to quantify that for somebody and to have them understand it until you realize like going out and helping people. And we just had Rose and Dean recently and Dean started the homeless hookup in Cleveland that helps homeless people out. They have this giant bus. It's like a hygiene bus that they can take showers. They give them haircuts, and he hands like care packages out to the homeless. And he'll go throughout the streets, and a homeless person's laying on the sidewalk sleeping or whatever, just sets a care package down and keeps walking. That's all. He's just out there helping people. And like, he's like, you know what, if you want, and he was homeless. He was an addict himself. And he was like, you know what, like, if you want the best high in the world, just go help somebody for no reason at all, just to help them. Like, he's like, it turns out feeling really good. And it's like, well, like, it's so hard to understand that if you've never felt it before. And it's like, man, like those people out there doing those things for other people like that are just, it's fascinating that they do those things. And then it was really cool hearing them say like, oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Like, I get the greatest thrill I've ever gotten by helping these people. And it's like, there's this weird thing that happens in our brains that just, I don't know how to explain.
It's like a twofer, like we'll call it a twofer. And honestly, it's like, they're doing something that's good for society, and then they're getting fulfillment back. And it's kind of like running. It's like you're doing something good for your body.
No enjoyment in running.
And then you might get a dopamine runner's high. Like,
yeah, or shin splints.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go back to like lifting weights, maybe. Like
that sucks too for the most part.
Yeah. But you feel great afterwards, and that you just did something for your body that like even that you stepped foot in the gym and like maybe curled 3 things, it was better that than not even doing anything at all. So yeah. So twofers is what we're talking about.
I get what you're saying there. Oh
yeah.
Do you have any time frame that I didn't really? I usually try to ask you beforehand.
So I told Whitney before we started, there's that taco truck at the brewery tonight, and I was like,
okay,
that's really good tacos. And I'm like, maybe if we get done around like 9:15, we could hit that taco truck up. And I don't have any like I need to go to it. They're going to be there tomorrow. I have a wedding tomorrow that I'm going to and stuff. But yeah, it doesn't matter. If we want to keep rolling, we can keep rolling. I've brought pages and pages, so I can keep going on different things if we want to keep going on different things. I might need to use the restroom for here in a second, but yeah, I am curious if you guys, not to segue right away, but like do any like ice bath therapy or Wim Hof or anything like that. So I would like to like kind of dive in, no pun intended, and kind of like some of that stuff. I do want to talk about like all the, climate and COVID and stuff like that. And I think we kind of hit some of those notes, but I would like to talk about kind of like stuff that I like to enjoy, not just stuff that
Well, why don't we take a bathroom break real quick?
Bathroom break sounds good.
And then we can get into that.
Okay.
But I think that's like, I like to find the reverse of what I initially want to feel. So like capitalism's an easy one for this one, because it's like, I love capitalism, but I think that's where capitalism kind of does go wrong, because we allow it to meddle in the medical industry, right? Like a lot of issues with the medical industry come from
brought to you by Pfizer.
That it's
80% of
that it's for profit, right? So like, man, like I don't want socialism and communism, all these other things, but there needs to be a combination of things that we shouldn't be looking for profit from a normal citizen in the medical industry.
Mhm.
Like I get people need to make money, so like obviously that's a problem that I know I'm not nearly smart enough to solve, but there's got to be something because what happens is you jam all these patients together. The doctors are there to meet their quota, and it's you know it's all right. Well, try this medication, send you out the door, and there's no regard of individual people. And you've talked about like diet and stuff like that. Like, I do great on like this. There's a lot of times where I just eat beef jerky for half the day and water, and like I'm getting my like sodium and my because if I go to the gym I sweat a lot. Like all right, I need sodium, so like there's probably I don't know how many pounds of beef jerky I've eaten this summer, but it's been far too many. But I feel great.
Yeah,
just meat and I still like carbs, but I wonder how much we've talked about this before too. I wonder how much of that depends on your genes, your DNA, like and
sure.
Everyone's different.
Yeah.
Like I'm not lactose intolerant. You give me all the cheeses, all the milk, great. Hammer down. You give me meat, all the things. Like, but some people they can't eat that.
You drinking the milk, or are they pouring it on top of you? Which one?
Just
we're going back to that porn
story. Yeah, it's one. If I do it myself,
Yeah.
I lay out a nice big old sheet of plastic and I just pour
100%.
Yeah,
Get
just
the honey
roll
out.
around.
Looking like
honey.
Gavin.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's like everyone's different, right?
Yeah.
Like so we can't we have to stop. It even ties into the like the police officer conversation we have. We have to stop putting people in these groups just because this person is this or that or whatever group you like just because they check off more boxes than not doesn't mean that everyone's the same in that group.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it might be, like whether it be your diet, where you're from, like I said, some people they smell peanuts and they have an allergic reaction. Dude, my wife wouldn't survive without peanut butter. Like
I'm with you there. Dark chocolate and peanut butter, they are a weakness. And within that carnivore diet, this is something that I always eat, chocolate and peanut butter. But it's, it's like organic and you got to stir it a little bit.
You got to stir it.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of sugar in the
separate.
chocolate. Yeah, so it's like, it's the best variable I can put in there. So, but like going back to what you said about, the health industry and what can we do? And, it just feels like the government was set up to be our referee, right, against these corporations. And I feel like they're somewhat captured now. Oh, yeah. It's like the lobbying and stuff like that. And the media goes with the government and then Pfizer funds everything. And it's just like, what's going on? Like they fund like 80% of basically the media that MSNBC and CNN puts out. Everything is funded by them. And, isn't that a little bit of conflict of interest? Shouldn't that be allowed? I know we're the only two countries, I think it's New Zealand.
Yeah. And theirs is way more restrictive than ours.
Yeah, 100%. And I get some of it because I think it's like generic and stuff. They have a certain amount of time to bring things to the market. And if we can kind of understand like how much we need to bring the market, how much to produce, it kind of prepares them. But that's kind of a silly thing too. Like, I don't know, to convince somebody with a heartfelt commercial like, hey, maybe your woman doesn't love you anymore. Maybe you just can't get it up. Have you tried Viagra? Like, I don't,
you may also bleed out of your ass for 5 weeks.
Yeah. You might have a stroke because of it.
You might have a stroke. Yeah. Like,
it was worth it.
It's a real toss
that
up.
boner was worth it.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I hope, do I see any change in the future on that? No, but being aware of it and being conscious of like the marketing that you're seeing every day is I think is beneficial.
Yeah, maybe that's why you're so attuned to it because of the marketing, because you know the tricks.
Oh, it could be 100%. Yeah.
That's like you said, like if
it's like, that's how I would make that commercial. Like, okay, yeah, that's good. Take notes.
Yeah. When it comes to the government and businesses and interacting with its citizens, like when there's so much money exchanging hands, at some point you have to say, this seems weird. Like, I know we kind of touched on, but like when government, officials, they'll leave office and then they get paid millions and millions in speaking engagements. Like nobody wants to pay Janet Yellen millions of dollars to hear her talk. Like, stop it. Like,
I'll pay her millions of dollars to not speak.
But so like,
where's Elon?
or the Clintons or the Bushes or whoever it might be, you realize like these government folks are all right, they're in office, they're not making very much money, but then they leave office and make millions and millions on like speaking engagements and through these endorsements, and they get like all these kickbacks. It's like, this doesn't seem to be a very good cohesive like path we're going down between keeping our government and capitalism separated.
Right.
I like made a comment that, China controls its companies. Well, it's basically the same here, just in reverse. I mean, I don't know who has more control over the government. It's citizens or corporations. I think it's a
coordinated effort.
Yeah.
I think it's a coordinated effort with media. And then you got big pharma and big government, and they're all coordinated in, releasing information that we like, oh, yeah. No,
well,
the government believes in, I need to go this way, like.
Yeah, I don't know if the media, not that I give them a pass.
Big media.
Yeah, well, not even that I give big media a pass, but they're just doing what they're told.
Well,
basically, I think by their sponsors and by the people that control the
sponsors. Owners, you mean?
Yeah,
exactly. The owners,
BlackRock, Rockefeller, like a lot of those people. Yeah,
and they're like all those things. So it's like, all right, well, like the media, like I don't really blame them because they're just the pawns. Like they really are the pawns, and like they're the big pawns, in the game. Because, well, if they don't make money, then
do you think they're not aware of what they're doing? Like the people that are up there.
I think the majority of them are.
Yeah,
I don't think they're not culpable.
I gotta hustle.
Yeah, I don't think they're not culpable. I just think they just kind of go, well, gotta pay my house payment.
Yeah.
So this is where I'm at. And some people just don't have a solid, like, not even belief system, but even like a core belief in themselves in lines of, all right, I'm not going to do this, or I'm not going to, or I believe in this, I believe in that. And whether it be religious beliefs or whatever it might be, like, I don't think there's a lot of people that if you push them, they don't know where their line is.
Yeah.
So they never know to draw it when it gets close. They never know when they're getting close to saying, like, this is my line. So what happens is, I think a lot of times you get pushed past your line and you don't even realize it. And you go, well, that wasn't that bad. I'm here. Like, what is what it is. Like, and so they're very malleable. I think most people.
Do you think these people also have somewhat of a disconnect as well because they live in these big cities and they do these things? You think about people in our city right now. It's Worcester. Everybody knows what's going on. You don't want to do anything. You don't want to offend anybody. You don't want to step on people's toes. You don't want to create OnlyFans because grandma down the street's not going to approve. But you got these people in big cities that it doesn't matter. They're just like, we're going to do what we want to do because there's 3 million people in this city, and it doesn't matter. I'm going to do my own thing. And maybe they have a little bit of a disconnect, and they're just like, fuck it. We're out here hustling. We're out here trying to get our money, and this is what I wanted to be. Yeah, it might not be what I thought it was going to be because they're basically giving me a script of what to say and what to tell the people, and that part maybe saddens them a little, but they're like, this is my job, so right. This is what I do.
I think a lot of people look at it as a job. They don't look at it as the impact.
Sure, sure. The subtle movement, more on like a macro scale or something, or a micro scale,
right?
Of where we're headed.
I think
how they're influencing it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people I've heard it said before. I think factually that if you want to push somebody or make them do something they wouldn't normally do, well, you're not going to jump right past what their line, right? Or their no way. You'd push them a little close. You push them towards it, and then as soon as they're like then you back off. And then you wait a little bit, and then you push them even more. And then when they start protesting, you back off. And then how better to get somebody to do something that they wouldn't normally do than to slowly push them towards that line before they realize it. They're already over it, and then they go, shit.
# 2 weeks to flatten the curve.
Yeah, and there's 1,000 examples you could use, right? But it's like you realize that, by the time you realize you've been duped, you're already well past the point of no return. So it's like, well, this is life.
You're at this new state.
Yeah, they keep sending me a paycheck, so I guess I'll just keep on doing whatever it is. Like, I don't think a lot of it is intentional or malicious, but I think a lot of people get put in bad situations because they haven't thought about all these things and been fully thought out. And sometimes you can't fully think out like what's going on because you never know what's coming. But I think that's one thing we found during the last few years is we spent a lot of time looking at things and thinking about things and discussing things and realizing like maybe this little personal note, one of my proudest moments, not at the top, but one of my proudest moments in my life was realizing that if I make this decision and if somebody forces me to make this decision one way or the other, I'm going to make a decision that I feel good about internally, but it might wreck my, not entire life, but it might destroy everything I've worked for. But I realized that there was a point, I knew where my line was. And it was like, I felt good about, I feel confident that I will stand for the line that I have drawn for myself. But if you never draw a line, if you never have that like marker, then what do you stand for? What do you stand for? What can you be pushed for? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whatever it is until you finally draw a line. Is it too late at that point? I don't know. That's the tough part.
I think we're here to push it a little bit. We're not here to just be static and just be like not known. I think we should try as hard as we can to, get people to know us, build a community around us and build a family and stuff. But yeah, it's, man, I did want to notate one thing that drove me nuts, just coming back to the Pfizer thing before we leave that in the dust. And it was back. Well, I'm okay with that because obviously it's played out. This thing has been going on for a while. Any podcast you listen to is obviously that's a big talking point.
It affected everyone's lives.
Yeah. But, going back to the marketing perspective a little bit, they actually spent $12 billion on marketing, over COVID. And they spent $9 billion on R&D. It's just like
that's a stat that I haven't heard before.
Wait a minute.
That's a very telling stat, right?
Yeah. So it's like, why are you spending this much on marketing when it's free, right? I thought it was free.
Nothing's free, Joe.
It's not free. So
someone's paying for it.
Who's paying for it? So,
well, apparently one of the company, was it Moderna is it Moderna that's suing Pfizer and BioNTech?
Yeah. Because we had
pay for it.
We had a patent back in 2014. How'd you have a patent for a novel virus?
Yeah, well, the technology there, but yeah, it's funny, like the fuckery that is through that whole thing, and it goes back. It kind of goes back to your health talk, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying like taking ownership of your health is nobody can do it but you, right? No matter what it is, you have to be honest with yourself, right? In doing so, and just taking someone's, whoever it is, like their advice of your own health, like that's a dangerous game to play. So it's whether it be a doctor that doesn't listen to you because you have a 15-minute, appointment and they've got to get you out of the door because they have 30 other people to see that day. Like, it's your body, and if you don't take responsibility for it, then who will? And even if it's, I'm going to drink this glass of bourbon or 2 or 3, do I recognize, this probably isn't the healthiest thing I could be doing right now. But does it add to quality of life? Does it add to, the enjoyment of life? All these different things. Like, all right, maybe I shouldn't have a bottle of bourbon a day. That's probably a bad idea.
Two drinks for males. It lowers the cardiac risk, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah? Is that
Yeah. 2 women, 1, so men can drink 2, so.
Yeah, but you should probably just take aspirin instead, right? That's healthy for you.
Are we just talking like thinning out the blood? Is that where that research is at?
At this point, I don't even know where it's at, honestly. Yeah. They've changed it so many times.
Yeah. Because I always heard that about like wine, like a glass
of antioxidants,
wine. Yeah. But I just wonder if like all the other things negate the positives from it, It's neurotoxin.
I think you probably cannot have a BMI of 50 and it's going to benefit you.
So I did want to mention the BMI thing, and just like we mentioned when we were off air for a second, cholesterol, but like what about BMI?
It's terribly antiquated and should be retired, and you should look at body fat percentage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you could sit there and you can be, have so much muscle mass, and you're 5'8" or something. You're like 215 pounds. They're like, dude, you need to lose some weight. They're like, what are you talking about? I'm pure muscle.
Fred almost ruined my insurance because they said his BMI, that he was like obese. He had to go and do like the caliber test because
no kidding.
Because his BMI said that he was obese and it was going to affect a large amount of a discount that I was getting on my insurance.
It probably would have cost us probably thousands.
I don't know if it was that, but it was
with your premium and everything.
It was significant.
It was a time where I was bigger than I was. I was probably like 240-ish then, and I was like abs and all.
Mm-hmm.
And like I had to go drive up to Cleveland because they were gonna like increase her insurance premiums because I was obese. So I had to drive up there, and I walk in the room. The guy's like, "Oh, are you here for a body fat percentage test?" I was like, "Yeah." So he's like, "All right, well, go ahead and take your shirt off." And he turns around, he's doing some things, and like he turns around, he's like holding the calipers. He's like, "Well, this is about the most ridiculous thing I've ever done in my life." And like literally, he's like trying, like, and I think he calipered me right around like I think it was like 11% or something like that. Body fat percentage.
Yeah.
And he was like, "This is the dumbest thing I've ever done."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, I tried to tell the lady on the phone, but she apparently I can't just send her a selfie."
Send her a selfie. It's fine. Like, show her your abs.
But like,
it's
so
fine.
like the BMI fact, like it's, just because your height and weight are at a certain thing, like it means I could see it's used as a general tool, but to change people's insurance rates because of these general, not everybody fits.
Not like smoking.
Right, not everybody fits in a general categorization, right? Like there's outliers. So adding or putting general rules on everybody, and I think a theme of this is people are individuals, right? So like, why can't we handle people as individuals? Because putting general rules on everybody, that's
policies and the complication of policies, probably.
Yeah, because people don't want to do their work, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's nuts to me. I was in that position too when I was working out really hard. I was 200 and I was thin. I don't know what my body percentage did, but I would talk to friends. They're like, "Dude, but your BMI is high." I'm like, "Dude, what are you talking about? Like, I'm running every day. I'm lifting weights every day. Like, I'm as healthy as I've ever been. Like, how are you going to tell me I'm less? Like, am I harder on my joints? Is that the scenario we're playing? Because I'm heavier than what my joints should be able to take? I mean, maybe, I guess that's a factor. I don't know.
Yeah, but ligaments and tendons will develop
in
a commensurate fashion with muscle.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's like you said, I think it should be retired, and I think it's old school. We've been running off BMI for a long time that has no relevance to health, particular. And going back to cholesterol, I think that's another thing. I think there's a lot of people out there that are taking a lot of pharmaceutical medications because their cholesterol is high and they're at high risk and they're older and stuff like that. And, they don't take in any butter anymore. They don't do any fats. They don't do anything. They're doing statins. And it's just like, dude, you're draining your brain. Like, you're draining your brain of all the fats that you have. Like,
you need those fats to produce cholesterol molecules, which, benefit the rest of your body.
Yeah. You gotta be melding your brain, essentially. Like, maybe not in that sense, but I don't know. I'm a big advocate for eating meat. I'm a big advocate for like butter. I wasn't always, I would say like 5-6 years ago, I probably leaned left pretty hard. I probably thought like eating vegetarian and drinking smoothies was the right way and stuff like that. Yeah, I was wrong. And understanding that and like moving on and being like living this diet. And maybe this is just what I've felt, living this diet. And maybe people feel something different when they live a vegetarian or vegan diet. But I think you see a lot of cases with people being vegan and not being malnutritioned and having osteoporosis and, not getting enough nutrition or protein. So I think it's tough, and I don't think we're going to save the planet by vegetarians, and I don't think we're going to
Yeah, I think if you want to do that and if it works for you, it's great.
Do it, but don't don't try to like force me to do what you do.
Right.
If you do that, that's fine. Have fun. Like, but don't go out and protest that meat is bad, meat is terrible, even though meat might be a contributing factor to whether you believe in God, whether you believe in evolution. a factor in human progress to where we're at now. And the same thing with oil. You know, we've got to where we're at because of oil and meat. You know, it's simple. If you look at all the factors, you know, take it away, take meat away and take oil away and see what happens, you know.
Right.
So,
well, I think it also talks to the individualism, right? And that's kind of, I see diet as a really good example of that, where, you know, like I said, some people are allergic to milk, some people are dairy, some people are allergic to tree nuts, some people can't eat this, some people feel better when they eat all vegetarian, some people feel better when they eat all meat. Like there's, I don't know, I guess I kind of tend to think and believe that maybe it has a lot to do with our genetics, because in different parts of the world, you know, you can't preserve, you know, meat or milk, or you don't get vegetation very much. Like, guess what? You live up in some Arctic area, you're not getting a whole lot of vegetables, bro. Guess what you're living off of? Animals. Yeah. So like
beef,
you know,
salmon.
Yeah, beef, you know, fats and
delicious caribou,
like all those things. So like the people who've lived there for thousands of generations or years or whatever you believe, like there's people that live in areas where they rarely get a vegetable. So you're just going to tell them that they'd be healthier if they eat vegetables? Well, I mean, their ancestors have been literally living off of animals for generations. So like not everybody is going to fall into the same category. So maybe that in some sense there's a genetic disposition to, yeah, I operate better off of just straight meat, or I operate better off of all vegetables or fats, or maybe I operate off of a little bit of everything better because I grew up or, you know, a Mediterranean diet, because whatever you know, like I think there is some kind of genetic disposition to some of those things and to health things, right? If your family, like when you go to a doctor, what's one of the first things they ask you? Your family history and medical diseases, right? Well, you would think all those things would carry forward through, right? So what's going to be good for one person, it can't be good for everybody.
Sure.
There's just no possible way, like at least that I can imagine, like as far as diet goes, at least.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard to figure that out too. Is like what diet's the best diet for anybody?
What do you feel good doing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you feel good eating.
What can you stick to?
Yeah.
What? Yeah. What can you stick to?
If you're Parsons, it's McDonald's once a day.
Well, bro.
Yeah,
not you. I'm saying your dad and your brother.
Yeah. Yeah, but guess what? Doing hard things and exercise, I'm almost positive that's going to be good for you regardless.
100%. Yeah. But I think there's a lot of things that we've just proven that, like Roundup and things that we've been spraying on crops and plants and vegetables and stuff. Yeah, we've been doing that a little often, you know, to mass produce like Big Farm. And we just realized that, you know, a lot of the oats, and so oats go in the bread, oats go in the cereal, oats go in a lot of things. The way we dry these oats out is spraying some more Roundup on them, you know, at the end of the growth cycle, I guess. And apparently that's bad. You know, we realized like, hey, Roundup does not work well in the body. So I think that we've been experiencing a influx of cancer over the last probably 30 years, 20 years. You know, I think cancer facilities have been growing. And, you know, I think we sit here and we wonder why. It's like, what is it that is making America sick? Is it our diet? Is it our want just to sit around and be static all the time? You know, is it our exposure to chemicals? So I think stress levels have increased. You know, obviously there's more office jobs now than ever, probably.
Lack of moving, physical exertion.
So, you know, what are some of the main contributors to a lot of these cancers, a lot of these heart diseases, which are two of the main killers out there? So besides like, you know, fentanyl for our age group and stuff. Right.
Those are pretty obvious to
yeah,
nail down.
We understand like drugs and fentanyl and stuff, but like things that we kill ourselves with. So like, you know, cancer. So yeah, it's fascinating to me. It's like, okay, how can I stay away from that? How can I eat more natural and, you know, eat more primal? And that's kind of the route I've taken. You know, I've even like looked into okay, not using as much shampoo or body wash or stuff like that, or deodorants that have aluminum in them. So you can ask Whitney. I'm just like, get it all out. I don't want it. I don't want to put it on my body. Sunscreen. I don't want to put that on my body if I don't have to. I'll stay in the sun until I can't take the sun anymore. I don't want to get burnt. I know that, getting burnt's bad, but just living a more natural life and trying to avoid some of these dangers like cancer and heart disease. And I think that's the key. So,
well, that's why I feel like there was a big campaign for a long time, at least because I kind of fell for it, or not necessarily fell for it, but just it made sense to me at the time. Like all these people are like, oh, gonna go all natural and this, that, whatever. Well, like I'm fairly intimately familiar with the glyphosate, which is the active product on Roundup and, rodeo and the same thing. I'm still not entirely convinced that that's causing cancer, but it's a man-made chemical product that we're spraying on our food, and the FDA, if you can go on their website and look at it, and this is a conversation because I've dealt with this very closely in dealing with the public. The FDA has on their website that Roundup is found in instances where it's used on farms. It's found in I want to say 65. I could be completely wrong, but I could find it at some point. It'd take a little digging. I won't ask you to dig for that one because it's a hard one to find, but it's on the FDA website where it's like 65 or 75% of foods that are the weed control is used in the process of growing them, that glyphosate is found in the food. Mm-hmm. Well, I feel fairly confident in saying that I don't necessarily think glyphosate is going to benefit my body. Like I don't see any. I don't see how, unless it's going to turn me into like Spider-Man or something cool, which I don't see that happening. I don't see a benefit there, right? So even if it's not necessarily causing cancer and the company should be liable for that, I don't see how it could be bad to remove it. I'll try to remove the instances from where I'm exposed to it, right? Regardless if it's this demon that some people want to make it out to be, it's not an angel. So maybe I should just kind of try to remove that from my diet completely. Sure. And like the deodorant, same thing. Like I always felt like kind of, well, maybe I should try this. Like I go all natural, this, that, whatever. Like it sounds crazy does it sound crazy because it actually is crazy, or does it sound crazy because I've been conditioned to just like, oh, these fucking hippies and like, oh, like, whatever, like, oh, the women are growing armpit hair and they're not wearing deodorant, like whatever, like, but like, guess what? Like I've worked around metal and I've been like, gotten my hands dirty my entire life. Like, I don't feel like taking a bunch of like aluminum sanding, grindings and powder and just rubbing it all over my body. Like I breathe that stuff in. Like, guess what? Like that doesn't feel good when you breathe those particles in all day long. And like, so I can't imagine that rubbing it under my armpits every single day for a year, like that's probably not very healthy for me. Is it causing cancer? I don't know, but it surely isn't making me healthier by like putting these chemicals that we normally wouldn't come in contact with in nature all over my body like that. You know what I mean? So like, regardless if it's the demon that whoever wants to make it out to be, if it's not benefiting me, then I'm probably gaining from removing it from my environment. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And I don't want to use the word catalyst again, but I've been using it a couple of times, but I think it could be a catalyst to cancer, like, so I think your mitochondria is something that possibly controls cancer. You have your mitochondria and every day you're washing your hair with chemicals that you don't understand. You're body washing, you're throwing the chemicals underneath your pores, which is your armpit. You go through the day and you get your daily pollutants of everything with, just gas and whatnot. But I think then you drink alcohol during the weekends and then you go on with life. And I think you start getting a weakened state from all this. Right. And now you like are eating food that has this in here. And then, I think it possibly could lead to cancer because you're in a weakened state at that point.
Yeah. And I'm not even saying that those things aren't directly linked to cancer.
Yeah.
It's just, even if they're not, it will probably benefit me from trying to remove a lot of these chemicals in my life. Like we've talked about the like plastics, phthalates, like, and that's been proven to do some,
No, I appreciate it. I'm just saying, like,
but that's like, well, there's the steps you got to go to. But you know what I mean? Like we've been gone so far as like, all right, we don't want to put plastic in the microwave anymore. Like that's because that's like thinking about it, like, and seeing over time what like plastic containers or different things will do. Like, well, like if my spaghetti sauce is going to stain my plastic container, well, how do I know that plastic's not getting in my spaghetti sauce? Do I want to just want to like grind up a plastic container and eat it? Well, that doesn't make sense. It's probably not going to be healthy for me.
Yeah. I heard a statistic the other day that said you eat like the amount of plastic, like a credit card a week or something.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nutty.
And what did that lady say? How, like, that was on Rogan?
It's shrinking the taint.
The decreased anogenital distance.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
it's
got
weird.
Small taint syndrome.
Yeah, like that's like those are tests they've done. So like because of our plastic uses and the phthalates that we're ingesting, like it's literally like, I don't know why it shrinks the distance between, the places.
Well, we do know that testosterone's going down.
Oh, yeah,
we've seen that.
Fact,
that's a trend line. That's like,
so something's happening.
Yeah, something's happening.
I see it every week when I pull labs on guys that are 20 years old.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need to go as far as we're turning the frogs gay, but we understand that like testosterone's going down. So, and maybe that's a provable study too. So, but as long as we have the choice, and as long as we're knowledgeable about it, I think is the key. As long as we know that like drinking plastic and plastic water bottles is probably not good for your health. Putting things on your body every day is probably not good for your health. Drinking alcohol every day is a mitochondria killer. We know this, but I choose to do this.
Right.
I sometimes like in society, like we don't necessarily choose this. We're just ingrained and cultured by doing something. Like, hey, you didn't wash your hair today? No, dude, I quit using shampoo. Why'd you do that? That's fucking gross. You a hippie? No. I go in, I scrub my head and I, dry it. I don't need to use shampoo every day. And my hair's healthy and it doesn't stink. It doesn't, I think going back to marketing again, we've been persuaded over time that we need to do all these things. We need to use shampoo. We need to put on deodorant. We need to cover up our scents and, use Axe deodorant and use body wash and really get in there and scrub everything. And it's just like, do we really need to?
I'm okay with getting in there and scrubbing everything.
Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying
okay with that.
Be, unsanitary or be disgusting or anything like that.
Right.
But at the same time, do we need to take a manufactured chemical and just throw it in there?
Right.
I think there's some natural alternatives like soaps and stuff that, you can that
we'll have
have
to give
like
Joe a
essential
bar
oils.
of soap.
Yeah.
I make soap and that's all we use in the shower.
What's up? Are you staying on
No,
dirty?
but it's all natural. There's nothing in it.
She makes homemade soap. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
sweet.
So we switched
Essential
to that.
oils and-
Yeah, they're only essential oils and there's some lavender buds. So sometimes that'll get stuck.
This video is going to come out and then
But-
everyone's going to be like, we didn't know Joe was a hippie. I'm like, I'm not a hippie.
Yeah.
I just,
Well, it's the thing, the chemicals, right? If I can't
Yeah.
read, if I don't know what it is, like, it may not be absolutely negatively affecting me, but if it's not positively affecting me, then what's real? I'm not gaining anything from it. So maybe I could find something else that like I could negate the possibility of negative effects.
If my wife starts telling me like, hey, you stink,
right,
I'm not trying to like attract another woman. So like, I don't need to like go in the shower and like throw a bunch of Axe deodorant or Axe body wash on. I don't think it's necessary. I think that stuff like fragrance and stuff kind of messes with a lot of your endocrine system. So, it's like, I don't need to do it anymore. So why do it? What else have I been not doing lately? Well, I haven't been sunning my butthole. I think that is, a new fad that people have been doing. And I haven't went down that rabbit hole of like sunning the butthole. So
yeah. Well, I think maybe, like you said, vitamin D is good for you.
Is the key.
Maybe your butthole needs some D. On that note,
He tries to use that line all the time.
A little comic relief.
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Obviously,
That's
yeah.
a thing.
Sunning the butthole, yes, absolutely. So there's been a lot of people out there that says, you should sun your butthole for 10 minutes a day, and it really kind of creates a lot of energy and stuff. Okay, well, you guys are going to have a fun discussion after this. No, I
might have to try that.
yeah.
Well, they
yeah.
say that the light in the morning and in the evening, if you get the indirect sunlight into your eyes, it's almost been 3.5 hours, my friend.
Has it really?
Yeah.
Let me just finish this really quick.
Yeah, finish this really quick.
I think
we have a lot that we can discuss again.
Sure, absolutely.
But it's been a blast.
3.5 hours.
It's
wow.
Okay.
You can keep going, but tacos sounded really good.
Tacos just sound good. I stopped wearing sunglasses like in the morning and stuff like that, obviously for driving when they're necessary. Like I put them on and I think they're cool. Like, yeah, sunglasses. But I think most of the time,
baby blues, huh?
I think you need to look at the sun and get those rays and get the vitamin D.
Directly? Don't look directly at the sun, kids.
I think
even your wife's like, I don't know about this, bro.
No, just in the direction.
No.
Andrew
Oh, yeah, in the
Huberman is
direction.
completely.
Yeah. I'm not saying stare at the sun until you go blind. I'm just saying like
just
I don't think
disclosure
it's
there.
as harmful as everyone says it is. And I think, especially with sun exposure to your whole body, like get as much as you can. Don't get burnt. Look at it as much as you can. Don't fuck your eyes up. That's it.
I agree with that.
All right.
We're supposed to be outside, right? We haven't lived in houses as humans.
Yeah. So
for
next time
our
I
history.
come, make sure this is outside. So
Have you listened to Andrew Huberman?
I don't think I have.
Oh, I think you
He's
like
an
him.
ophthalmologist,
Yeah.
but he also is like, I don't know what else.
He's too
But-
smart for his own good.
Yeah, but so he talks a lot, obviously, ophthalmology, like eyes are his thing. But he has tons of studies out. Follow him on Instagram. He just put a video up maybe a couple days ago about sunlight in the morning, like what Fred was talking about, and in the evening and how the benefits that has on your body. And he says there's like 3 things that are just not like he does them every single day. And one of them's like exposure to sun in the morning.
Gets up
and
in the
then
morning and
in the
stares
evening,
at the horizon.
yeah.
Not stares, but looks into the horizon.
And he's somebody who
all
has
different
done,
rays and-
specializes on our eyes and what it does to our whole body. He's a brilliant man to listen to, but you would probably find him interesting.
Yeah, I'll check him out. Make sure you're barefoot when you do it too. You're
naturally
connected to the earth,
Yeah.
So
the energies. Joe, thank you very much.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Again, we'll have to we'll give the people some time and then fill them up again with the
we touched the rabbit hole, I think, on some areas, but obviously there's so many areas that we can touch. And,
the sun and the butthole areas. We've touched it all.
Yeah,
rabbit
I don't
holes
know if
to
we want to
buttholes.
touch that again. We might just leave that.
We can leave that again. We can leave that.
And the next time
I'll give you a review.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
5-star. Make sure it's 5-star. So.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us today. Remember, check out the website chronic-curiosity.com to join us at the forum, have some fun, interaction, pick you up a comfy t-shirt, or if you just want to support the show and donate, all that is on the website as well. Thank you. Until next time.
See you.